everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka TheIndianJesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How is everybody doing tonight? Getting ahead of myself. I want to quickly give a shout out to the replay gang. Struggle streaming already, man. Replay gang, thank you so much, guys. I know sometimes you miss the live party, but I can see the numbers you coming back. Hey, say hello to me. Replay gang, hit up the comments. I want to know who is coming back. I know who's here live, but of course I want you here live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and you will never miss another IndianJesus live party ever again. Before we dive in, let's give a thank you to the sponsor of the stream. You know it well, my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it's the only place to get your very own The IndianJesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right, so what are we talking about tonight? You saw the thumbnail. You know what we're doing. I assume that most of you by now are familiar with Destiny, if not from my channel, from somewhere else on the internet. He's one of the most famous people there. So even though you know that I am the context guy, I'm just going to assume that you guys know who Destiny is. So let's get right to it. If you haven't, please hit that like button. Let's do it.
Tell us your story. Who are you?
Yeah, so basically the long and short of it is I started streaming video games in 2010, and in 2016 I started to get more involved politically with the whole Trump stuff, and everybody, I guess, felt like they needed to get involved politically, so I kind of jumped on that bandwagon. I've always been, from 2016 onwards, like pretty far left, center left, in terms of how I've kind of argued with people. I had a reputation for being kind of a hardcore political debater, and then I've kind of softened that approach. And nowadays, I guess my goal is to just kind of like show that people on the left and right can have good conversations while still being challenging and critical of one another.
So that's Destiny.
Last part is usually missed from people that claim they want to have good conversations between the left and right. They usually lose the critical aspect of it. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I heard your conversation with our friend Peter Boghossian about this very issue. It's like, how do you have healthy conversations, even if you might disagree about stuff. So I look forward to all of that with you. And one of the things Francis mentioned to me earlier is that you are someone, I don't know how often this happens, but you've gone from being more conservative to being more left-wing over the course of your life. So tell us about that.
Yeah, before he goes into that, that's one of those things that, you would find, depending on where the pendulum is swinging on the political landscape, you're much more likely to see in a political landscape like this, people coming from the left being the default establishment party, and then kind of finding out more and switching into the more underground version. Even though Destiny is popular now, he was getting in the weeds, whatever he said, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So at that time, it would make sense that you would start off a little bit more conservative and get a little bit more liberal. Makes it more sense that you would kind of come back with the pendulum, but hey, he's certainly not the worst of them out there.
I grew up in a Republican household. My parents were huge Bush fans, so I kind of grew up in that whole era of, loving Bush, loving the Iraq War, loving the whole kind of neocon establishment. And then as I got older and as I started to earn more money, I kind of started to see how different the world was from a very wealthy perspective versus a not so wealthy perspective.
So that's really interesting because, as I said, usually you see the opposite. What they say, what's the old line? If you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart. And if you're not more conservative as you get older, you have no brain.
And I kind of noticed that a lot of stuff feels a little unfair, and that kind of moved my perspective a bit more to the left.
That's really interesting because normally when, because part of it was when you had your son, wasn't it, Destiny? That was
a real kind of... the lens through which I view his life is pretty insane. There's so many unearned advantages that he has just because I'm wealthy that, other children don't have available to them. And when I kind of see stuff like that, it makes me look at the world a little differently.
That makes sense. I mean, that definitely, he's definitely in a unique position in terms of, money and status versus like place in the world. Usually somebody as well known as Destiny. Before there was a Destiny, it had to be like a Bill Gates or something like that. So that definitely makes sense to me.
That's so curious to me because I had a son 6 months ago, and I'm not going to lie, I want the absolute fucking best for him that I can possibly provide. And if I can get some more unearned privilege in his bank, in his locker, I would love to do more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Yeah.
So you would like him to accumulate as much unearned privilege as possible.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's like our goal, right? Like, I bought a house in the best school district. I make sure that he's like provided for as well as possible. Like, yeah, I mean, we want to provide our children the most they can get. It makes me look at the world a little bit differently when I can see how different his life might be versus the life of another child when the two haven't really done anything different to earn or not earn, different lifestyles.
And what does a progressive say should happen about that then?
That's and perfect question, because he's absolutely right. But I don't understand why that's a question for politics. I don't understand why that's a question for at least not before we get to I'm sorry, I don't know the trigonometry dude's names. But red shirt here, we'll go with red, white, and blue. There we go. When Red's saying what should happen about that, that's a good question. And it's curious that Destiny doesn't come from that perspective. So let's see.
I guess like the standard progressive lines are usually some greater form of wealth allocation to, I don't know, like underprivileged schools, or making sure children have, I guess, food, like free lunches or free meals during class.
Okay, well, free lunches.
Whatever parts you can allocate money towards to kind of like help underprivileged children, at least have the same economic or socioeconomic opportunities as more wealthier children.
That's really interesting.
I can't, guys. I gotta speed this up. They are like, it sounds like they're drunk to me.
Interesting. So it's a free school meals aspect, and bear in mind, I'm a former teacher, Destiny. So
now we're moving, grooving, party.
Yeah.
So I've seen that. So it's free school meals. What else is it?
Well, just around children, or for the entirety of society, or
not just around children, but around society as a whole.
Are you asking me for like what is my go-to policy list, or like what is
that's a very broad question. He's just like, what's good with your politics? And then he's like, well, there's certain things, basic welfare, food for children. Okay, what else? Like, what, you want my entire political platform on every single issue? Why don't we focus the conversation a little bit?
The general progressive.
No, I think he's asking in the context of unearned privilege and particularly education. What are the things that you think are important?
That makes sense.
Well, I guess so. When I think of education, in my mind, education is supposed to be the great equalizer. If you go to school, if you show up, and if you put in your hardest work you can every day, there should be like a good reward waiting for you at the end. So making sure that like every schools or all schools have the same opportunities available to their children who are there to take advantage of the opportunities, I think is a good start. So like one thing that I thought was interesting.
Of course, as soon as I start speeding it up, then he starts rattling off. I knew he was going faster. That's why I didn't speed it up.
Was over the pandemic in the United States. In my child's school, every single kid was issued like an iPad and a laptop. And for a lot of children living in the United States, not only do they not have that, a lot of these kids don't even have internet access to their homes. So that would be like one example of a difference between like a wealthy school district and a not so wealthy school district. Other differences might be like in wealthier schools, you've got like this plethora of after school programs available, these different clubs and groups that you can take part in. If you're like a band student, they might issue you an instrument instead of you having to buy or rent one. It might be the types of textbooks available to you.
So I agree with Destiny that these are all good things, obviously. And in the situations where we are able to provide them, that's great. But that's not a political stance, I don't really think. More stuff is good, generally speaking. Yes, that's not politics.
It might be providing graphing calculators to kids. Like, I don't know, there's like all these different things that schools can do to kind of like put children on a better footing.
I guess I'm just asking, like, okay, I get that that's what you want. What is the political avenue to get the things that you want?
To succeed in school and then in life.
And it would also, I imagine, be greater investment in schools to have lower class, smaller class sizes, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you can afford it, smaller class sizes and everything starts to get really expensive. But yeah, it's also not just
exactly, which is why I was bringing that up, because when you talk about things like iPads and smaller classrooms and more teachers, these are all things that cost money, and it's about how do you, like, obviously, if we had the money, then we would just put it there. I mean, of course, we have the money as the American government, but the people who have the power to allocate that money, it's not there. So what is it that you would like to do?
Just a money thing too. It's figuring out how we have to be critical of our education system, because there are some school districts that throw a lot of money.
Yeah, but don't we have to be critical of our education system, but don't ask anything about anything the teachers are teaching, and it's okay to have secret sexual conversations with fourth graders. Come on, Destiny.
Kids, and they don't really get great results. So it's not just a matter of throwing money into schools as well. It's a matter of figuring out like which programs are beneficial, what works really well, what doesn't work well, and then going from there. So I want to say the two most evidence-backed things I've heard of are, and these kind of seem like no-brainers. One is food. Having free meals available for children seems like a no-brainer. It prepares you for the day. It puts you in a better position to learn. So having free meals available for children that might not be eating well at home is a really good thing. And then two,
that I don't know how anybody could be against that. I think we are at a place in civilization that even though food requires some type of labor, unless you're literally planting a tree and just picking off apples off the tree and eating it, it requires some type of labor, some type of work, some type of packaging, some type of regulation, the FDA, all of that stuff. I still think we are at a place as Americans where we can provide at least children with the guarantee that they're not going to go a day without eating, as long as they're in school. I don't think that's too liberal. I don't think that's woke. I don't think anything like that. So I'm with you there, but let's see where else it goes.
Surprisingly, another thing I saw was air conditioning. Some schools don't have air conditioning available, and not having air conditioning in the school that's really hot, like over, oh God, what is it? Like, is it 28? Hold on, I'm trying to bonger this for you. Yeah, like there'll be schools in the United States that are over like 27, 28 degrees inside, and you have...
Why would you do that? 27, 20, I mean, I'm assuming that's 80-ish degrees. And I'm thinking about up here. And again, that does seem like it would be very difficult to learn in those kind of circumstances, especially if you don't live in a place where you could have like airflow. Like my grandma, Trinidad and Tobago, they don't have air conditioning there. It's a tropical tropical island, and it's hot all year round. But the way that they build the houses has a lot of airflow, and of course it's an island, so it's on the beach, so you don't really need it. But I'm thinking in like Arizona, Texas, I'll go with that. Food and air conditioning, fair enough.
And you've got no air conditioning for these kids, and the ability for you to like focus and pay attention to class or work on homework is severely diminished in those environments.
Yeah, and you mentioned food, and obviously children need to eat. Why is it that they don't have food?
Why don't they have food? Well, I mean, in fact, I don't know. It's a really good question.
Well, isn't that really the core question here when it comes to this issue? Because it seems to me that often the progressive solution is to go, well, this thing is lacking, therefore we must provide it. Whereas I often think that the solution often lies in finding out why is the thing lacking in the first place, and there you start to get into real difficulty, because it's issues like family breakdown, it's all sorts of other things that are going on that are...
So this is exactly what I was getting to, much more well articulated by Red over here. That why do you think that these kids don't have food? Of course, that's a very, and you saw his reaction. Well, I mean, I don't know. It could be a whole bunch of things. Right. So just like there's a lot of people that don't have money. You can just give them money, right? We have tons of money. Okay, but why don't they have money? I don't know. It could be this, could be that. Okay, so we need to figure out why they don't have money and then determine if just handing out money is going to be the solution. In the case of food, it doesn't seem that variable in terms of money. Like, if you don't have food, it's probably because you don't have money, because that's one of the first things you'd spend money on. And unlike money, you can't just spend it anywhere. You use it for your sustenance. Point being, we have to focus what it is that we want and figure out the methodology and avenue to get there.
Causing that to happen in the first place. And yes, you can give that child food, and you maybe should, but you're not looking at the deeper problem, and it's never getting solved.
Yeah, but I find I feel usually when people bring these points
I feel
up, I'm not saying you're doing this, but oftentimes it feels
Mhm.
a little pearl clutchy to where it's like, here's a problem. I know it exists. Some children don't have enough food in school, so provide food because we know that boosts educational outcomes.
which on this side, nobody has. I said agree with that. Nobody has disagreed with me so far. So I think we're all with giving the kids air conditioning and food. What we're saying is that you, as just saying, give the kids air conditioning and food, is not a political position.
And then some people are like, well, hold on. Well, what causes that problem? Well, I don't know. I mean, there could be a number of things that cause that problem, but I don't know if I would let there being a deeper problem stop me from at least alleviating that symptom.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know if realizing there's a deeper problem would stop me from at least alleviating that symptom. Well, shouldn't you figure it out? Because just like with the welfare state, you don't know why these people don't have money. So you just give them money and just alleviate that symptom. But the reason they don't have money is they don't want to work. Now, of course, we're talking about, not every single case, but that absolutely is an incentive. There absolutely is plurality of people on welfare who could be productive members of society and instead are taking our hard-earned money.
Oh, sure. I'm not arguing on that point. What I'm saying is, isn't there something else going on that is a sign of something bigger that we should actually be focusing on? I mean, to me, family breakdown is a much bigger issue that no one wants to talk about. No one is focusing on dealing with. Everyone just accepts that this has happened over the last 60 odd years rapidly, where you've gone from like 25% of children being born to in a single parent or living in a single parent household to like 75 for some communities, or 50 or 40 depending on which group you're in.
And this is why it surprises me, is because Destiny is not like some straight out of college just woke kid just repeating talking points. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he came into this just saying, well, they have to understand these issues to a certain extent, so maybe they don't need me to spell it out. That's the only benefit he's getting, because if you can't go any further than that, then your whole platform is just give people things that they don't have. And I can't get on board with that. Sorry.
That to me is a massive problem. Why do we never talk about that when we're talking with progressive people?
I feel like we talk about that all the time. I feel like I hear about this constantly. Maybe it's just
in
the media circles. Yeah, of course. Yeah, where people talk about like children being born out of wedlock. People talk about tangentially things.
No, I hear the right talking about it. I never hear
exactly.
Well, I mean, I hear a lot of right-leaning media in the United States. I guess when I hear the right talk about it, I never hear the right talk about solutions to any of these problems either, though. What's the right?
Get married, close your legs, wrap your dick. Those are the solutions. Get married. If you want to go into the Republican platform as of now, be a Christian, go to church. I don't agree with all those things, and I'm somewhat starkly against some of those things. But to answer your question, this is what the right-leaning people are saying. Hey, we got Mike in the building. Only hear the right saying it. Only hear the right saying it. He's going, I don't hear this all the time. It's like, well, yeah, but then the right talk about it. Well, yeah. The right talks about it, but they don't have any solutions. It's like, well, no, but we do. Do you?
Leaning perspective of how to alleviate these things, or rather, why is there a family breakdown?
Well, that is very, very complicated, and we've had a number of guests on the show to
feminism
talk about it. I mean, Louise Perry would say the sexual revolution creates that process because you change the dynamics between men and women using contraception. There's, Thomas Sowell would say, and he's obviously on the right, it's the welfare state creates incentives for people not to live together and for women essentially to be paid by the government to have children. There's all sorts of explanations for it. And that means that there's, you're right. I think the right offers few solutions other than like, let's encourage marriage. But isn't it important for both sides to at least ask the question?
Well, it's not that the right doesn't necessarily have all the solutions. It's that we don't get to explore options past be a Christian, get married. That's the answer. And so if you're not a Christian, especially if you've been a Christian, then that's simply not an option for you. And so then you just, all right, I guess you don't have answers for me either. So I'm going to go out and just live as if nobody has the answers. When in fact, I have the fucking answers. Leave God out of your fucking politics and take these Judeo-Christian values that you love so much and do what you have to do to actually get it in the fucking brains of the people that you care about. Instead of standing on your high horse and acting like you are so full of virtue, then get down on your hands and knees for a reason other than sucking off Jesus and actually do something in the world.
We might actually come up with some solutions.
Yeah, I think that asking the questions are fine. But yeah, I'm not going to wait for the reversal of the sexual revolution and the welfare state to feed kids in school, I guess.
Nobody said reversal. Who said reversal? Oh, we're talking about slowing it down. Just slow it down.
That wasn't what I was saying. I think you know.
Oh, sure.
That.
No, yeah, I know. Like, yeah, I mean, there's always deeper. There's always deeper.
It's a good
things
line,
to
though.
analyze. But I
you can tell when a good debater is getting triggered because then they resort to these. Well, what about this? And well, this person said that. And we watched Destiny. We've seen Destiny very chill in the cut. Dude's yelling at him, coming at him hard. I was like, no, guy, look, that's not how it is. And he might get heated, but bro, you're not saying anything. Like says, Ben Shapiro gives an answer. He says, graduate from high school, get a job, and don't have a child out of wedlock. These three things will keep you out of poverty. Exactly. Very simple. Very simple. All things that you have 100% control over. And people choose not to do it. There's nothing more to that. Just don't do the stupid things. You asked before, why don't these kids have food? It's because their parents fucked up. Their parents didn't follow this. Is that the kids' fault? Of course not. But just throwing money at them isn't addressing the problem. So when Red here asks you, why don't the kids have food? It's a relevant question, isn't it? I don't know. It could be a bunch of reasons.
I find that for deeper problems, it always feels like people are just trying to smuggle in whatever they care about the most.
Cope.
So if you ask like the breakdown of the family, like a feminist might tell you that it's because men don't respect women enough and they're not being patient enough to wait for children to be born at the appropriate time. Or if you ask a conservative or a Christian, they'll say the breakdown of the family has happened because of a lack of social values and because of the sexual revolution and too many people having casual sex. Or if you like, it feels like anytime you ask people these really complicated questions, it's just an invitation basically for them to rant for 2 hours about whatever their particular pet issue is for all of life that explains everything.
Yeah, but Destiny, the thing is, some people are wrong and some people are right. I'm not saying about everything. I'm not saying some people are right about everything and some people are wrong about everything. But when it comes to this, some people are right and some people are wrong. And even Mike here, who I believe you are quite a strong Christian, says God should not be, I agree, no God, government should be secular. Why is it that some people can understand that and have the belief in the same religion, and then others say, no, it has to be this way? Does it though?
No, again, not to say that you guys do that, but I mean, I agree that these are definitely deeper problems that need to be looked at, but I don't think we're undoing like the sexual revolution anytime soon.
No, I don't think we are.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about any of the deeper things, we can go into any of those if you want, for sure. I mean, they're all interesting topics. I don't buy the welfare state one, for instance. I don't believe that any mother's ever made the choice to have a child out of wedlock to get more welfare. We can talk about any of the underlying issues if you want. But,
that definitely happens.
Well, I mean,
that I'm not saying a woman who has no children will have a child simply to benefit on welfare. But if you have a chick that has 4 kids and she can get an extra, I don't know, however much by just popping out another one.
I mean, I actually don't believe it either personally because it happens cross-culturally across different nations. So I don't buy that argument, even though I think a lot of what Thomas Sowell is written is very insightful. Anyway, Francis, I know you've got questions.
Okay, Francis. So we got Francis is white. We've been saying red, white, and blue because I mean, obviously I know Desi's name, but I want to make fun of his hair. I don't know these guys' names. So Francis.
So the thing that I find very interesting, Destiny, is the journey from right to left. Do you think the left is better at providing solutions than the right? Which is that the reason why you moved over?
Great question.
No, I don't think anybody's that great at providing solutions. I would say the left is marginally better because at least most of their stuff is rooted more in reality than the right is, at least in the...
Is it though? What is, well, even with the religious shit that we were just talking about, it's just not the case anymore. Reality has left the left.
In the United States, when people on the right like don't think climate change is real, I think
most people on the right who have an issue with climate change, I found out the hard way by acting like an arrogant liberal at the time. Most people who don't believe in the narrative of climate change don't believe that the climate is not changing. They just don't believe the prescriptions that the government is telling you that you need to turn your air conditioning down, while China is the overwhelmingly majority offender when it comes to climate change, as if me spending my summer an extra degrees extra uncomfortable is going to do anything. But yeah, it's just a hoax.
some of them don't believe in evolution, might think the world is 6,000
I mean, he's right on those.
years old, don't believe vaccines work.
I can't do anything for you Christians who believe the world is 6,000 years old, and it's those kinds of things that get to be lumped in with everything else. So continue pushing God and see how the liberals take it.
Don't believe in like climate change. Yeah, I don't. It's hard to.
And if I can, he said, "Oh, don't believe that. Don't work." It was a super liberal thing before Trump and before warp speed. It was a super liberal thing to be an anti-vaxxer. It was not a right-wing thing, or at least it wasn't partisan to be an anti-vaxxer. It was usually the crystals and those people were the ones. I'm not putting that stuff in my child's. And it was this one quote unquote vaccine, fake scene. Can I say that? Mike says, yes, I am a Christian. I do not think the government should be in the religious business. As a libertarian, I don't like them using taxpayer funds to put nativity scenes in front of city halls. I 100% agree with you. Now, nativity scenes are the least of my worries when it comes to religious impact on government. But I agree. I don't want my money going to that shit.
Begin a conversation with, well, how do we fix this problem, when a lot of those people are completely just descriptively, factually, like off reality.
Are they though?
People on the left, though, obviously they do their virtue signaling as well. They say dumb shit sometimes, or a lot of times. My personal philosophy doesn't really revolve around like which side is making the better prescriptions. It's more just like, where do I align at philosophically in terms of how do I believe I guess like the country should be ran.
I mean, look, and I'm going to push back a little bit on that. And just so you know, I regard myself as being on the left. Former primary school teacher and secondary school teacher in deprived schools for 12 years, etc., etc.
But as a non-American, when he said, actually, I don't know if I can go there. But he sounds. Let me not even go there. Let me not even.
Etc. Economically, very much on the left. But surely, Destiny, when you were saying like, don't believe in vaccines, believe in evolution, what you're doing is you're pinpointing a certain part of the right, the religious right. There are lots of people who are very pro-vaccine on the right. There are a lot of people who are atheists on the right. You are just pointing to a certain part in a way which some people do on the right when they go, oh, nobody on the left believes that there's two sexes. And I'm like, hang on a minute, mate. I think there's two sexes. Do you get what I'm saying, Destiny?
Absolutely. Francis, I think it was Francis, right? Francis on point. Taking the, and I mean, Mike, even though we know it is much more common for somebody on the left to not be willing to say what a woman is than on the right for any of the things that vaccines and climate change and all that stuff on the right. We know that this is way more common. But the point, I think, that Francis is making here is just, this is the same thing that Destiny's doing, is that most people on the left are just going along with the crowd who is fighting for this. I just dropped a video this morning about how they literally changed the word of woman in the Cambridge Dictionary. Most people on the left are not fighting for that. They're just not fighting against it. And I mean, on the right, I think it's not the same, but it's not that much different. There's people out front doing the work, and everybody else is just going along.
Yeah, I mean, 48% of Republicans in the United States don't believe in evolution. I could look up other numbers if you want for like vaccines. I think 68% of Republicans don't believe the last election was real. I don't buy this.
What do you mean they don't believe it was real? You mean they believe it was stolen?
Yeah, they believe it was stolen. Yeah, that the election was completely rigged. Like the polls were actually, or not the polls, the actual votes were tabulated differently, or ballots.
They were tabulated differently. That doesn't mean it was stolen. That doesn't mean there was fraud. That doesn't mean any of that stuff. But they absolutely were tabulated differently. They changed the rules. Guy, you know this. I can't tell if he is trying to just be in debate mode or if he can't be that ignorant. He can't be that ignorant. He knows they changed the rules with mail-in ballots and all that. You know that, bro. Come on. Mike says they were anti-vax when Trump was in office. The same exact one. I'm sure we could easily find a compilation of politicians saying, "Oh, I'm not taking that. It's coming from Trump." I know for sure Kamala Harris said that. And what position does she hold again? Oh yeah, the vice fucking president of the United States of America
or whatever. There is a radical wing to the left in the United States, but that radical.
No. Wait a minute, Destiny. Are you telling me? Yeah. Or telling me there's a radical wing of the left in the United States? No way.
The wing is a fringe. It's small. It's found in colleges. It's almost non-existent legislatively, and it's found on Twitter. But on the Republican side,
he is correct about that. The problem is, just what I was saying about Mike's comment, is that on the left, they're way more likely, A, to not know what the other side thinks and therefore demonize them, which causes them to be, let's say one or A, but secondly, to go along with the crowd with stuff that is just completely, not just incorrect, but immoral. You don't see that as much on the right because the right knows what's going on on both sides. At least for the most part. Obviously, there's idiots everywhere. But we're talking in generalities. And studies have been done over and over and over and over and over again. And this is why the left thinks the right is evil and the right thinks the left is uninformed. The left has no idea what the right thinks. And the right keeps up.
On the conservative side, the radical wing is right now the majority of the party. It's significantly different. So I'm willing to acknowledge that there's radicals on the left and right. The difference is on the right.
Hey, we got Carbon in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome, brother. Just checking out the Triggernometry episode with Destiny. He is not doing well, brother. He is not doing well. He's trying to say the left is better at providing solutions than the right.
Right.
What do you think?
Almost the majority of the Republican Party in some ways. And I wouldn't agree with that idea that not believing in these things and being hyper religious, like that's just a few conservatives. That's not true in the United States. The evangelical voting base in the United States is the most important voting base of the right.
He is right. Keep that religion in your politics, guys. Keep doing it. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Keep talking about God. And all these liberals, all these atheist liberals are going to come running to your door. Oh, please, how are you voting? What do you think? Oh, I
think a large number of Republicans believe in some pretty surprising things revolving around these topics. But again, we can get into any of those specifics.
Yeah. I mean, for us too, growing up, and our heroes are people like.
If you are just joining us, welcome to the party. I am your host, Lunch, aka TheIndianJesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Hope you are doing well. This is a party, so feel free to jump in the chat and let me know what you're thinking.
like Bill Hicks and George Carlin, who were always mocking those very people, the religious right in the United States, who were at that time saying, don't say this, you can't say this, you don't blah, 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 blah. I mean, I would quibble somewhat with the idea that the far left has little influence. I mean, I seem to remember them burning down quite a lot of stuff in the middle of 2020. But in terms of what I'm curious about, you are someone who's been very strongly and supportive of the idea of free speech, and that certainly has, as a value, has been eroded in recent years on the left. It seems to me, at least as an observer. Would you agree with that?
I don't think anybody really cares about free speech. The left has definitely attacked it as much as they can across social media institutions, or the institution of social media, I guess, or internet stuff. But the right wants to legislate a lot of freedom of speech out of existence, which is really scary to me.
Such as the only thing that I can think of that is talked about on the right that has to do with speech, that is an unfettered free speech, aside from enacting violence, is doxing. I have not heard one other reason for anyone to take any speech of any kind down. The only, I mean, unless you're talking about not specifically showing books like Just the Tip and Genderqueer, look them up if you don't know what I'm talking about, to kindergartners. If that's what he's talking about, then no, you can go to Barnes & Noble and buy that book. I just don't want it part of the curriculum. I don't want it in the school library. Mike says the left said Russia. Member!
And it seems like those ideas enjoy broad support among Republicans. So,
like what? Like legislate free speech? How do you mean?
So, for instance, Donald Trump said that he was in favor of revoking citizenship for Americans that burned the American flag, which is one of our most important rights to freedom of speech. Right. He didn't get very much blowback at all from Republicans for that. Republican has...
This is a perfect example of somebody who doesn't like Trump versus somebody who is either on this outside of that camp. There's two camps. There's people who hate Trump and will take everything that he says in the worst possible light. And then there's everybody else who will be like, oh, okay, I kind of get who this guy is. And I don't really like the way that he said it. I don't like exactly what he was saying, but like he wasn't really saying, we're going to arrest you for burning the flag. He was expressing a sentiment. That's what a populist does. And the sentiment was, hey, we don't like this. And a lot of other people, even though they wouldn't sit on a jury and convict you to go to jail because you burned a flag, they agree with the sentiment that they don't like burning the flag. I feel like he's way too smart for this. He's way too smart for this. Mike says, Jordan Peterson said, we know when the right goes too far, but the left never knows when they went too far. Facts, bro. Facts. Never. Because who's going to tell them?
I'm sorry. Trump has spoken.
They burned down half the goddamn country. And nobody told them they went too far.
Repeatedly about how he wishes to open libel laws to make it so it's easier for people in office, him especially, to sue media. He said repeatedly that media is the enemy of the people.
It is. Media that lies and is in cahoots with the government is the enemy of the people. By definition, that is one of the first things in any authoritarian regime that occurs. The changing of words and the co-opting of the media and the press. You know this, Destiny. Why are you playing dumb? Now, I mean, I'm hoping frickin' Frack over here are just letting him get it out so they can dunk on him. Because we're almost halfway through, and dude hasn't really, two of them haven't really stopped him much. But I know they get into it a bit, so let's see.
These are some of the most worrying statements that a head of state can ever make if freedom of speech is a primary concern of you.
Didn't he just 20 minutes ago? Not even 20 minutes. We're in 20 minutes in. 20 minutes of hours. So maybe 5 minutes ago of content. 5 minutes ago. He's like, the right is so like pearl clutchy. It's like the worst things that anyone can ever make about freedom of speech. Pick a side. Are you a bitch or not? Like, you can be a bitch if you want to be a bitch. At least I know I'm dealing with a bitch.
Yours.
Mm-hmm. But that's Donald Trump. I mean, I really find him quite obnoxious and never was particularly supportive of him.
It's very easy to levy these criticisms against Trump, and even to get people like me who would never vote for Trump to defend him. But bro, it's 2022. Trump's been out of office for 2 years. 2 years. I refuse to believe that anybody in the federal government actually has any religious beliefs that we recognize. So does he say that he's a Catholic? Yes, I believe he does. But more likely he's closer to what we could call a Satanist or some shit. I mean, the Bilderberg meetings and all that shit. I don't believe that anybody that high in the government actually has anything that would resemble what we would call religion.
That's fine, but the majority of Republicans in the United States support Donald Trump, and he just called for like suspending the Constitution a few days
I don't know if that's true anymore, bro.
So I don't really believe Republicans or conservatives when they say they're worried about freedom of speech. I think that when they say that, what they really mean is they don't like.
When people say things, I don't believe them, even though they continually say it and prove that what they are talking about is what they really want to enact. But I don't believe it. Oh, you don't believe it? So then it must not be true. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense now.
They got banned on Twitter.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
I never got banned on Twitter, and I've been talking about free speech long before I ever had a single issue with the left. Oops.
I'm not a Republican in America. I'm not on the right. I am worried about freedom of speech.
Sure.
And one of the reasons we started this channel is we saw in our industry, which has always been very progressive, the comedy industry, comedians increasingly restricted, punished, cancelled, chased out, not given opportunities that they otherwise have been given for doing offensive jokes and or having the quote unquote wrong opinions. So I think to suggest that people are no one cares about free speech because Donald Trump doesn't care about free speech. You're grouping extremists in with lots of other people.
Well, the problem is that the
extremist
wing.
I was waiting for it. I was like, bro, say something. Like this dude's just going off. All right, let's get into it.
The conservative party in the United States is the majority. That's the problem. Extremists in the
United
States on the left are a minority of the party.
He just made an argument against Trump as a person and said, by extension, because the Republican Party supports Trump, then everybody who is in the Republican Party is to blame. But, we can do this in real time. What the fuck? Oh, man. Does anybody know that website where you can bet on who the president is going to be, and out of $1 you can shares president cents out of $1. Come on. Oh, I don't know what the fuck it is. Give me one sec. Shares of president. All right, if I can't find it in 2 seconds. All right, I can't find it. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, then I'm gonna keep looking. But point being that out of 100% or $1, 100 cents, as I last checked in a Timcast video 2 or 3 days ago, DeSantis was twice as high as Trump. And we are still 2 years out from the election. And Trump's stock is tanking, especially when his big announcement was a fucking NFT. So, I don't know if they're a minority. I think you're talking out of your ass. And once again, the left has no idea what's going on with the right wing. Mike says, I don't have a problem with burning a flag, but it better be a flag that you purchased, just not mine. Yeah. I mean, I personally am not a very sentimental person. So I just didn't really care about flag burning. I understand, in times of like real international strife, like when the notion of the Afghanis burning the American flag in the early 2000s, that was something that meant something to me in a negative way, obviously, because it was people who legitimately wanted to kill us and me just for being me, even though they don't fucking know who I am. But some wokester being like, look what I'm doing. Check out on TikTok. Follow me for more. Like, and then we get to things like Kaepernick and people are burning jerseys. Like, bro, really? What are you like? Just cash app that shit to me. Crazy. All right, let's see. I wanna double check this.
Which has always been very progressive, the comedy industry. Comedians increasingly restricted, punished, cancelled, chased out, not given opportunities that they otherwise have been given for doing offensive jokes and or having the quote unquote wrong opinions. So I think to suggest that people are no one cares about free speech because Donald Trump doesn't care about free speech. You're grouping extremists in with lots of other people.
Well, the problem is that the extremist wing of the conservative party in the United States is the majority. That's the problem. Extremists in the United States on the left are a minority of the party, right? Not many Democrats consider themselves communists or socialists. That's like kids at school, or like your radical, very slim minority people, your AOCs, right? But in the conservative party, they're currently tearing themselves apart because the majority of the party were on their knees for Trump.
And why is that? Why is that? That's because there's so many people who all of the things that you're talking about that you don't like, all of those people don't like that either, Destiny. That is why Trump did so well. And so, yes, there is a rift in the party because all of the shit that you're talking about, there's a bunch of us who aren't wokesters who don't like it either. So people are standing up. People are doing something different. You're just talking out of your ass, bro.
The last, 4 or 5 years.
I agree with you. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I always say I am longing for the day where I can go back to mocking the right for hating comedians and not allowing them to make jokes and blah blah blah. And
I said shit. Me too. I cannot wait for the day when religion becomes the biggest problem in my life again. Because that is a problem that should be a lot more insurmountable than knowing what a fucking woman is. Falling victim, as I would put it, to believing in a silly dogma is one thing. But if that silly dogma at least is making you live good values, well, okay. We can have conversations about how far you want to push that. But that is way better than you coming in and trying to upend society and saying, oh, yeah, children can consent to this, that, and the other. Men are women, women are men. This is all. Those are two very different things.
I believe that eventually will happen. But I also think it's clear, very, very clear, where restrictions around comedy and all sorts of other speech are coming from culturally. Look, I hear you about Donald Trump. I don't like Donald Trump. But in terms of the broader culture, the attacks on people's opportunity to make jokes, to express opinions that are controversial, are overwhelmingly from the left, aren't they?
When it comes to things like social media and like cultural stuff, yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with that because that's kind of where the left has its power staked out in. But when it comes to like legislation, I would say that the conservative threat is bigger there.
And so what do you mean by extremists? Let's actually break that down. Because we're using the word extremist, and like all of these words, they mean different things to different people and context and whatever else. So tell us what you mean by extremist, Destin.
Sure. So I would say that Trump, for all intents and purposes, given the ability to run the government as he would, is about as close to a fascist as you could be without actually being a fascist. Or maybe he's a fascist.
He's the closest to the fascist you can get. Do I even have to? Do I even have to talk about everything that Biden's done under the Rona regime? I mean, I don't think I do. Mike says, comedians are so important. I believe they are the canary in the coal mines. If they die, free speech is gone. 100% agree. I mean, I've been watching a lot of George Carlin clips lately, and it's just amazing how articulate this guy was, and how much not only did he understand the landscape, not only was he able to articulate what his message was, but he was able to do that in a way that was funny and entertaining. All three of those things are extremely valuable. Any two of those things, as we saw with Donald Trump, can get you elected to the fucking White House. And that's exactly why they're going after this semantic obfuscation, to go after comedians and others who speak truth to power, so that they can take over. I think I found the website I'm talking about.
I'm not sure.
Yes. Okay, I found it. So, all right. I don't know how to navigate this, but let's see. U.S. elections. Who will be the president? 24 presidential elections. So if we see here, the incumbent, you guys can see this, right? So we have the incumbent, of course, is up by 1 cent over Mr. Ron DeSantis, both at 34 and 33 cents respectively. So again, how this works is that there's $1 to go around, and you can buy, and then as people buy and trade just like any other stock, then the numbers go up and down. So we see Trump at this point is barely above Kamala Harris. Like, yeah, twice, but she's in the single digits. She's tied with Gavin Newsom. So this whole thing, whatever he said about how Donald Trump is the Republican Party. No, sir. You are incorrect. Even if can we just look at I want to look at just the Republican. There we go. So again, just for the Republicans. So we have all these people down here that, if you understand markets, then you know that probably people like Glenn Youngkin, Nikki Haley, they will probably run. They're definitely not going to win. But as they run, this is a buy right now. 4 or 5 cents will probably go up to 18, 19, 20 cents or whatever. But eventually, one of these two is going to be the winner, most likely, unless something drastic happens. But we can see here that DeSantis is up 20 points. Now, this isn't a real legitimate poll of any kind, but if there's anything that we've learned over the last 2 years is how bad the polls are. And this is direct information from actual consumers putting their actual money up. So, I mean, to say, let's go back and see what he said about Trump and
anybody that supports Donald Trump.
But in terms of the what I'm curious about, you are someone who's been very strongly supportive of the idea of free speech, and that certainly has, as a value, has been eroded in recent years on the left. It seems to me, at least as an observer. Would you agree with that?
I don't think anybody really cares about free speech. The left,
is that beeping coming from the video? Do you guys hear that?
Has definitely attacked it as much as they can across social media institutions, or the institution of social media, I guess, or internet stuff. But the right wants to legislate a lot of freedom of speech out of existence, which is really scary to me. And it seems like those ideas enjoy broad support. I don't really believe Republicans or conservatives when they say they're worried about freedom of speech. I think that when they say that, what they really mean is they don't like that they got banned on Twitter.
Okay, fine. Yeah. I am not a Republican in America.
Really
I'm not on the right. I am worried about freedom of speech.
Sure.
And one of the reasons we started this channel is we saw in our industry, which has always been very progressive, the comedy industry, comedians increasingly restricted, punished, cancelled, chased out, not given opportunities that they otherwise have been given for doing offensive jokes and or having the quote unquote wrong opinions. So I think to suggest that people are no one cares about free speech because Donald Trump doesn't care about free speech. Again, you're grouping extremists in with lots of other people.
Remember, 26 cents to 46 cents. Just remember those numbers as he says what he's about to say.
The problem is that the extremist wing of the conservative party in the United States is the majority. That's
the extremist wing of the party, that's the party. Is it the
problem? Extremists in the United States on the left are a minority of the party, right? Not many Democrats consider themselves communists or socialists. That's like...
Not many Democrats consider themselves communists or socialists. Well, shit. I must have met a lot of Democrats and just happened to have met that very small fringe that are all fucking socialists. Because they may not identify as socialists because, once again, they don't know fucking shit about politics. They just follow buzzwords. And they think that socialism is great. So maybe, again, being on the left, you're missing out on things that are going on. And this is what you do, homie.
Kids at school, or like your radical, very slim minority people, your AOCs, right? But in the conservative party, they're currently tearing themselves apart because the majority of the party were on their knees for Trump.
And again, as I just explained, I'm going to deep again, but exactly, there is a rift in the party. The left was so bad that the Republican Party, the buttoned up, pearl clutching Republican GOP, got Donald Trump through. And of course, there's more to it with that. And now, some people liked that. Some people liked winning, but they didn't like Trump. And some people like Trump, whether he's winning or not. And so, yes, there is a divide. What does that have to do with free speech?
For the last, 4 or 5 years.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I always say I am longing for the day where I can go back to mocking the right for hating comedians and not allowing them to make jokes and blah, blah, blah. And I believe that eventually will happen. Hopefully. But I also think it's clear, very, very clear, where restrictions around comedy and all sorts of other speech are coming from culturally. Look, I hear you about Donald Trump. I don't like Donald Trump. But in terms of the broader culture, the attacks on people's opportunity to make jokes, to express opinions that are controversial, are overwhelming from the left, aren't they?
When it comes to things like social media and like cultural stuff, yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with that because that's kind of where the left has its power staked out in.
Okay, and where else does power come from in this political landscape today? Or where does power come from that is stronger than that of the power that comes from social media? I wish I had the other the Jeopardy sound, like nowhere. And I'm not talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm talking about a place that does not exist in this or any universe.
But when it comes to like legislation, I would say that the conservative threat is bigger there.
And so what do you mean by extremist? Let's actually break that down, because we're using the word extremist, and like all of these words, they mean different things to different people in context and whatever else. So tell us.
And why is that, guys? We know why it is. They just changed the dictionary. Semantic obfuscation.
That's what you mean by extremist, Destiny.
Sure. So I would say that.
And look what it does. Look what it does. Destiny just spewed a bunch of bullshit. But even these guys have to stop and slow the whole conversation to a halt just to define a word like extremist. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to define your terms when you're having a conversation. That's a good thing. But if every other word causes this disruption, then it's not really about my ideas or your ideas. It's about who can present those ideas better. And if you're the one who has the ability to code switch these words and use them in the way that benefits you and always puts the other person on their back foot, then yeah, you might win influence, but it doesn't make you right about anything. And that doesn't mean you're going to accomplish anything.
Trump, for all intents and purposes, given the ability to run the government,
He's
as
still
he
talking
would,
about Trump.
is about as close to a fascist as you could be without actually being a fascist. Or maybe he's a fascist, I'm not sure. Anybody that supports Donald Trump, even if you're like, well, I don't like him that much, but I guess is an extremist by any definition. The fact that January 6th happened and most Republicans don't care about it, the fact that so many of them, a majority of them, don't believe that the last election was done correctly, that it was rigged.
See, those are two different things. Semantic obfuscation. There's a difference between an election being, I don't want to say it, but completely, rigged. I just want to make sure there's no space there. And it being done improperly, and it not being fair, and the rules being, thank you. I thought I was going fucking insane. I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, it's not that loud, and I don't hear it, but thank you. Okay, that's on their end. I apologize, guys. So, I don't know what it is, but thank you, Mike. I was going crazy over here. But you can see it. You can see how he says the two things, one which is kind of true, and one which is not true, but they sound like they're the same. So he's just gonna weasel them both in there. Listen to it.
The fact that January 6th happened and most Republicans don't care about.
Yeah, because it wasn't a big deal.
It. The fact that so many of them, a majority of them, don't believe that the last election was done correctly, that it was rigged.
Done correctly.
These are
I don't believe it was rigged.
Extremists. And
Hold on.
I hope that's where he's going, because I don't believe it was done correctly, but I don't believe it was rigged. Those are two different things. Those are two different things.
May I pause you there, Destiny? Again, in the spirit of just comparing things. So I remember, and this, look, I am sort of like sitting and observing from both sides. We're not in America. I really don't affiliate myself with either side of the political spectrum. I remember quite distinctly Hillary Clinton saying Donald Trump is an illegitimate president in 2016.
Yep.
I personally know plenty of people in media and in politics and in all of these spheres who flat out denied that Donald Trump was legitimately elected in 2016, who said it was Russia collusion. I mean, look, I was one of them. I remember going on stage, I'm originally from Russia, and talking about how we helped to get Trump elected, right? Because it was so much in the air. The idea was he was elected illegitimately. So I find it hard to clutch my pearls when the Republicans do it, even though I disagree with it. I think the last election was fine, despite various shenanigans, including the Hunter Biden suppression and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we didn't even bring that up. And I think they are looking into that and seeing what exactly, I don't know why at this point. I don't want to see Trump in president based off a 2020 election at this point. That's just not going to help anyone. But I do think it would be helpful to vindicate half of the fucking country who has been turned into QAnon conspiracy theorists, when it's just become so easy because people don't pay attention to anything.
I'm just saying, I think to present this as the extremism of one side when both parties now do it, unfortunately, is that accurate? Is that reasonable?
Nope, it's the most inaccurate thing in the world. I've heard this talking point and rebutted it like 50 billion times. So everybody will point out the one quote where Hillary Clinton said that Donald Trump was an illegitimate president.
And Kamala Harris and a bunch of governors, a bunch of senators, a bunch of Congress people.
One quote. Donald Trump has made 50,000 other statements saying that the election was rigged.
Yeah, he repeats himself quite a lot, but that isn't the point. No, that isn't the point.
What aboutism?
If I'm on stage as a comedian doing these jokes, because it's in the culture and everyone laughs because they recognize the quote unquote truth in it, isn't.
And who thinks just on, let's take a random tweet. We don't even know what it says. We're going to take a random tweet from Hillary Clinton, who probably tweets 1/100th. I have no fucking clue what she tweets. Maybe I'm just going to say 1/100th of what Trump was tweeting before he was banned. So let's take a random Trump tweet from his presidency and a random Hillary tweet from whenever. Which one would you have to bet your life savings on one being a joke? Would you bet that the Hillary tweet is a joke? Or would you bet that the Trump tweet is a joke? or at least in jest, or, you know what I'm getting at. The point is, people like Destiny will take every word he says, and I know this because I did it for a long time, for like 2 years, while I was still brainwashed by the mainstream media, to take everything that Trump said at its worst, at its complete face value, literal, all of that. Yeah, Mike, on point again. I've definitely seen the Republican Party become more libertarian, and I, as much as I don't like him, I think that has a lot to do with Trump. Trump got a lot of people who were disengaged with the entire process to say, okay, at least there's a decent other option. And I don't understand. I do not understand how. Maybe if you're very Christian and you believe that should be part of politics, it makes sense to be a Republican over a libertarian. But it just I don't get it. I don't get it. What is it that the unless it's just the fact that the Republican Party wins and the Libertarian Party doesn't. But maybe it's because you're voting for a party that you don't really believe in that they're winning.
Isn't that the point? A lot of people
thought
the election was
exactly
stolen.
the point. It is exactly the point.
Let's back that up. What's the point?
Fortunately. Is that accurate? Is that reasonable?
Nope, it's the most inaccurate thing in the world. I've heard this talking point and rebutted it like 50 billion times. So everybody will point out the one quote where Hillary Clinton said that Donald Trump was an illegitimate president. That one quote. Donald Trump has made 50,000 other statements saying that the election was rigged.
Yeah, he repeats himself quite a lot, but that isn't the point.
No,
that isn't. If I'm on stage as a comedian doing these jokes because it's in the culture and everyone laughs because they recognize the quote unquote truth in it. Isn't that the point? A lot of people thought the election was stolen.
It is.
He just said, yes, isn't that the point? And you said, yes, that is exactly the point. So you agree that you were wrong.
Exactly the point. If we look at the behavior of the Democratic Party and the Democratic establishment versus the behavior of the Republican Party, Republican leaders in the Republican establishment, the difference is night and day. Hillary Clinton ceded the election the night of. Donald Trump tried to claim victory before the votes were even counted.
Why? I'm not defending. I'm asking why. Conflating those situations is a clear sign that you are being A, ignorant, or B, arguing in bad faith. You know why. You know those are different situations.
Hillary Clinton gave one interview where she was salty and she said something about him being an illegitimate president. Donald Trump asked his vice president to overturn the results of the election. There have been a couple of people online that have gone too far, for sure, with the Russia collusion stuff, and it's pretty cringe. Donald Trump on January 6th basically led his followers into an attempted coup d'etat of the government, of which some people, the Oath Keepers, have been charged with sedition. The comparison is not even remotely close, and I can't believe anybody would try to say the two things are.
Bro, you're the one who brought up You're the one who said it. You brought up Trump. Nobody was fucking talking about Trump until you brought it up. Nobody's trying to say anything about Trump. Trump is old fucking news. We're asking you about what you think about politics and free speech, and all you keep going back to is Trump. How is this not Trump derangement syndrome? And this is a thought leader on the left.
Yeah, you can give me a few quotes that are stupid by liberal leaders that have said dumb shit about Trump that they shouldn't have said, and I agree with that. But to say that the two sides are the same on that, when Donald Trump...
No, they're not the same. They're not the same. Because I can give you a few examples on the right where people have said shit that I don't like, that I don't agree with. Because I've never been on the right, and I don't like the GOP. But there's an entire Twitter account. There's an entire Twitter account. Not of just the politicians who are saying this shit. But it's being echoed by the voters. How many Republican voters? We talk about this all the time. How many Republican voters love a politician other than Trump? How many liberals have AOC merch or Gavin Newsom merch or the Fauci ouchie or Cuomo sexual or all of that bullshit? You're just wrong. You're just wrong. Give me all of your fucking subscribers, Destiny. You are wrong. You've done this for, you started off by saying this, you've been doing it for 15 years, and you suck. You are wrong. Mike says, I don't like what happened on J6, but no one was trying to take over the government. Exactly. What is it, the destiny that you think would have happened? What is it that you think people were trying to accomplish? And I don't think that those were reasonable people, by and large. But people like the Oath Keepers. Like, what is it that you think they were trying to do here? You think they had the plan to go and halt the proceedings and then, like, well, I guess Trump is the president for the next 4 years now? Like, yes, there's a group of people who believe that. That's QAnon. And it's much smaller than Antifa. It's much smaller than Antifa. So if we're playing What About, we can play that game too, homie. We can play that game too. And you will not win.
This day still believes the election was actually rigged. I don't think it's even remotely comparable.
But do you think Hillary Clinton to this day believes that she lost that election fair and square?
Well, fair and square and...
Oh, well, now we're getting into... Well, fair and square, it depends on what you mean, but that wasn't the question. Do you think she lost the election? Because Trump knows he lost the election. The question is, did he lose it legitimately? I believe so. But only because the rules were changed. And so if we're getting into, well, what do you mean by fair? Yeah. That was a thing to bring up before you made your claims and positions on things that other people have said. We're only just using your own logic against you. Your own logic.
And an actual rigged election are two different things, right?
Well,
oh, now they're different. Now they're different. Before, when it was on the right, it's rigged or did wrong or whatever, rules change, whatever. It's something. It's no, the elections are perfect. When it comes to Hillary Clinton, well, there's a big difference between. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Russia collusion. Do you think she believes that the election was taken away from her by Russian collusion?
Well, we already know that there was some form of Russia collusion, right? We
Do
already
we?
know that some of the DNC hacks, for instance, was done by Russia. That there was coordination between the Guccifer people and WikiLeaks in order to time leaks to damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. We already know from the Mueller indictments that there was companies set up in the United States, one of them being the Internet Research Agency, that was literally setting up protests where they were organizing both sides of it to turn Americans against each other. We already know that that 10 GOP account that had more followers than the actual Tennessee GOP account was ran by people that were operating at the Kremlin. Like, we know that that's real. Now, whether or not, like, Trump himself was personally...
Yeah, and none of that had anything to do with 2020. Only 2016.
Making requests, well, he did on TV, but maybe that was a joke, right? Like, that maybe wasn't proven as much, but, like, yeah, we know that there was some level of Russian meddling in order to try and get Trump elected.
No.
So the question was, do you think to this day that Hillary Clinton believes that Russian collusion was the reason she lost the election? See, the reason I can point this stuff out to you guys is because he's fucking good. Destiny is very good at what he does. He's very good. It's very good how he slithers away from things that he doesn't want to say and slithers towards the things that he does want to say. But luckily for you, I'm here. And even though I really respect and enjoy watching Destiny, I'm not going to let him fly on this shit. Just like I'm not going to let anybody else fly on some bullshit. This is probably absolutely correct. He's just buying time to think of an answer. That's one of the things that makes him good at this. You can just kind of ramble and vamp and like, okay, where am I going with this? And while you're thinking, be talking. That is a part of what makes you good at being a bullshitter.
We do know that, and I, as someone who's from Russia, believe me, I know all about the bot farms and whatever. You say that Donald Trump to this day believes that he didn't lose the election. I agree with that, and I think he's wrong. Does Hillary Clinton believe she didn't lose the election? I'm pretty sure she still believes the election was taken away from her unfairly.
Well, again, she
Bro, just take the L. Like, it's sad at this point.
believes that she lost the election. She's just going to argue over, like, what were the causes that happened that made the election go the way that it did.
And how is that different in any way than what Trump is doing? conceptually. I understand that there is a difference in how they behaved, and I don't approve of either their behavior. But you're out here trying to say, oh, it's okay if Hillary does it. And it was just, she was salty, she made one comment, whatever. But Trump, no, I'm the one who's being fair and saying they both need to suck it the fuck up. You lost, whether it was because they changed the rules or because nobody likes your fucking face. You lost. Get over it. Try again next time. And there's only one person. There's 4 people on your screen right now. And only one person is continuing to go back to Trump. In December of 2022.
But that's fundamentally different than saying the vote totals were rigged. It's a totally wildly different claim.
I see your point. That's a fair,
So the question was...
fair point.
And what would you say to those people who go, look, most of the Republicans at the time didn't want Trump. Trump has a different fan base.
Guys, we've only got 3 people here. I don't know where everybody is, but if you could do me a huge favor, take the URL. I'm going to stop the show. We're not going to do anything, so you could just sit and watch my face, or you could just do it while I'm talking. Take the URL, go on 2 different social media platforms. Go on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or this or that, and just post it. Just be like, yo, this is awesome. Check this out. Boom. Look, we can do it together. Ready? We're going to do it together. So we go to YouTube, right? Am I the first one? If I'm not the first one on my own homepage, there we go. Okay, after the ad. So we go, we open it up. Am I the first one? If I'm not the first one on my own homepage, there we go. Okay, after that. And then you just hit the share button, right? You see that? And then Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, all of those, they're already there. Look at that. Look at that. It's done. It's done. It's done. I'll know. Let them know to let me know that you sent them. There might be a $5 Cash App.
Voter base to...
Let's back that up a little bit, see exactly what he was saying.
That's a fair point.
And what would you say to those people who go, look, most of the Republicans at the time didn't want Trump. Trump has a different fan base, different voter base to a lot of the Republican Party. He brings his own people with him, a voter base that has been untapped for a long time, who have been neglected, who a sizable portion of them were Bernie Sanders fans.
Yup.
So
that's me. Now, I didn't vote for him, and I hated him as he got into office, but I eventually warmed up to him.
What would you say to them and that particular argument?
Look at any polling data ever to know that that's not true. I mean, Trump had...
What's not true? What's not true? Did I miss? What's not true? He asked about people who switched. Did he not? Am I stupid? Am I stupid?
Been neglected, who are...
I got to do that one more time. There's no way that is a answer to that question.
That's a fair point.
And what would you say to those people who go, look, most of the Republicans at the time didn't want Trump. Trump has a different...
Yes, we all remember, even Fox News, especially Fox News, going super hard on Trump. So okay, so he's talking about polls. He's talking about being wrong. So Republicans didn't want Trump. So far, that is absolutely correct.
It was different fan base, different voter base to a lot of the Republican Party. He brings his own people with him, a voter base that has been untapped for a long time.
Yes, so it's been proven again that a lot of the people that voted for Trump in 2016 did not vote before. It was their first time voting, and not just because they were 18-year-olds or 18 since the last election, but because, like myself, we just didn't give a shit. So far, there is not anything that's wrong here.
Who have been neglected, who are a sizable portion of them were Bernie Sanders fans.
Yep.
So what would you say to them?
I mean, he would flip out if I misgendered somebody. Oh, you don't exist. But he just gave Francis, I think, just gave a very specific demographic of people, which, except for the voting part, that I fit into. And the question is, what would you say to somebody like me?
And that particular argument.
Look at any polling data ever to know that that's not true. I mean, Trump
What's not
enjoys
true?
wide and broad support from the Republican Party.
Eventually, yes. But you must have forgot, or maybe you just didn't pay attention at the time. Maybe you were just in an echo chamber of people who hated Trump, like I was. But Republicans hated Trump. It wasn't until way later that there was no choice that everybody's like, well, I guess this is our guy. I mean, you're not 20 years old, Destiny. You remember this. This was your job. You covered all of this. So either you're lying or you're lying.
Party. He didn't bring over that many Bernie voters. Trump was a very popular, he won a huge primary, like he smashed it with Republicans. The idea that Trump just brought some voters out of nowhere or something is just, yeah, that's.
Oh, he did. He brought a lot of people out who never voted for anyone as well. It happened the same with Brexit in this country. Millions of people, actually. But anyway, sorry, Francis. Karen.
I mean, Trump's voter base looks exactly like most Republican voter bases. There wasn't, I'm not aware of this, like,
wrong.
A whole bunch of I'm sure there were a lot of new voters because it was like a really big election. Same thing.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some people who just, saw this random celebrity and had no idea about politics and then just picked up and became huge MAGA people. But then, watch this. Watch this. So he's making this argument, right? So all the people who voted for Trump were just already Republicans, right? I don't remember exactly what he's going to say, but he's saying he's going to bring something about this, bring up something about this that directly flies in the face of what he's talking about how he emboldened so many people to do whatever. Like I said, I never voted for a Democrat in my life, so I'm pretty Republican. Yeah, I'd say that fits. Didn't want Trump at first, but I voted for him, and I voted for him because he was the candidate. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of people, but there's a lot more people. Well, I don't know if there's a lot more people, but there's also a lot of people who never voted for, a lot of people who were for Bernie, and I don't understand what, and we, I mean, all right, let's do it. Fox News anti-Trump. Actually, I should have gotten a new thing on there. Fox News. Let's do never Trump. Whoops, that's not how you do that. E equals never Trump. Wait, no, I need. Come on. Oh, you fuckers. Let's do 2015. I would play this, but it's gonna. I want Fox News. Why is there nothing here? Am I crazy? Y'all fucking know. Fox News doesn't. Fox News against. There's no way. This is, I'm not making this up. Okay. Okay, we're getting closer. 6 years ago. Can we get someone 7 years ago? Because that was 6 years ago was it's 2022. So 6 years ago is right after. Okay, we're not going to present anything. So what's the first one? This one has. So let's see.
Welcome back, everybody. We are moments away now from another round of.
Wow. Remember Megyn Kelly? Yeah, she was super for Trump, right?
Poll closings just about a minute out from being able to make some calls, this time in 5 states with 82
I think this
electoral
might be
votes
too late.
up for grabs. And the biggest prize of all is
All right, fuck this. We tried.
California with 55. It hasn't really been in contention. This is.
You guys know, though. I mean, I don't have to pretend you guys don't know. I mean, it was very obvious that Fox News, among everybody else, did not want Trump to be the president until after he was the nominee. They were pushing for everybody else. Before he came down the elevator in 2015, they really wanted Jeb Bush. So to act like that just never happened is cute. It's cute.
Thing with Obama,
just like his blue hair.
But it's not like he brought out some never before seen voter base of like a group of people that were untapped or whatever. Like it's the same Republican voters as always. Like he still enjoys broad support of the Republican Party from standard Republican.
Now,
well,
you know when people like again, Destiny. I'm not a Trump fan. I want to make that clear. Not a Trump supporter in any shape or form.
He's a Trump enthusiast.
Yeah, I'm an enthusiast. You know, I've got the poster above my bed. But when people talk about Trump, particularly people on the left, and they're very critical of him, and this happens for Brexit as well. My response is always: the left created Trump, the left created Brexit, because there's a whole swathe of people.
All right, I got something here. I'm gonna back up what he's saying, but we have more first-time voters. Late deciders in U.S. presidential race, November 8th, 2016. That was election day, if you forgot. So make sure I got what I got. So 15% of Americans who cast a ballot on Tuesday said it was their first time voting in a presidential election. 15%. It's not like there's that is enough to swing an election. And ironically, almost exactly the amount within the margin of error of people who would have voted for Trump in 2020 had they heard about the laptop story. But yeah, it's not like 15% of Americans came out of nowhere. Like, what are you talking about? According to an early reading from Reuters, whatever that is, National Election Day poll, up from 9% of voters who said so in 2012. So we have in 2012, when it was Obama and I think it was McCain, right? Or was it fucking Mormon dude, whatever. 9% of voters were first-time voters. This is an extra 6 points. Poll of nearly 35,000 people. So the 13% of voters had waited until the final week of the presidential race to make up their mind between the candidates. Yeah, I mean, it's right there. It's right there. And who is this? This is Reuters. So it's not like this is some bullshit, QAnon rag. This is Reuters. So I guess you're wrong. Let's hear them be wrong in real time.
Look at any polling data ever to know that that's not true. I mean, Trump enjoys wide and broad support from the Republican Party. He didn't bring over that many Bernie voters. Trump was a very popular. He won a huge primary. Like he smashed it with Republicans. The idea that Trump just brought some voters out of nowhere or something is just that's.
Oh, he did. He brought a lot of people out who never voted for anyone as well. It happened the same with Brexit.
15%.
Millions of people actually. But anyway, sorry, Francis.
I mean, Trump's voter base looks exactly like most Republican voter bases. There wasn't. I'm not.
That's what I was going to say. So remember that he says the Trump base looks like the Republican base. His claim is that the Republican base and the MAGA base are one in the same. They're one in the same. So I'm actually going to make that poll. Oh, fuck you guys. Fuck you guys for not answering that poll. I know exactly what that means. Fuck, what was I just saying? Okay, so is the MAGA crowd the same? Don't be mad when there's other people who come through for me. I appreciate that you guys are here to know it. I never have a stream without saying that. I'm just saying. I asked you very simply for a really easy thing to do, and nobody did it. And so I'm not going to forget that. Is the MAGA crowd the same as the GOP crowd? Remember, I'm going to keep that up. Because he's going to go against his own fucking words.
Aware of this, like a whole bunch of I'm sure there were a lot of new voters because it was like a really big election. Same thing with Obama.
Nope. Oops. Only, well, we didn't look at the 2008, but so I don't know. I don't know, but be interesting. Not interesting enough for me to stop the show and look it up, but if somebody wants to do that.
But it's not like he like brought out some never before seen voter base of like a group of people that were untapped or whatever. Like it's the same Republican voters as always. Like he still enjoys broad support the Republican Party from standard Republican voters.
Well, you know when people like again, Destiny, I'm not a Trump fan. I want to make that clear. Not a Trump supporter in any shape or form.
He's a Trump enthusiast.
Yeah, I'm an enthusiast. You know, I've got the poster above my bed. But when people
NFTs.
talk about Trump, particularly people on the left, and they're very critical of him. And
it's usually because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
This happens for Brexit as well. My response is always the left created Trump, the left created Brexit. Because there's a whole swathe of people in the United States, in Britain, that have felt left behind with the electoral system. They feel that the elites don't represent them. They've never cared about them. You know, they've seen deindustrialization. They've seen their jobs, their societies be absolutely gutted financially.
And remember, Destiny is going to say that Trump and the GOP together are the party of the rich, and Joe Biden and the Democrats are the party of the working class. Well, think about the things that our boy here is saying.
Hearts and souls ripped out of them. And the parties like Labour or Democrats who always purported to...
You guys at least like the video, please.
Support. Who always purported to care about the working classes effectively abandoned them. So when this person came in, I always say to them, and again, I'm on the left, may I reiterate that, it's our fault. We didn't care about them, so we have helped to create this phenomenon.
I mean, yeah, people can say that, but I mean, like, that's kind of like that's just like the rhythm of politics throughout all of humankind, right? Like, arguably the left created Trump for sure, but the left that existed before Trump, that was created by conservatives for sure.
Okay,
right? Like,
I'll agree with that. Point being,
the rapidly,
and I think that goes further to the point that people, conservatives in general, are making, is that things are going in a bad direction. Things are going in a bad direction. We should not have ever gotten to the point where we needed the bull in a china shop type of a president like Trump. We did. And America got better. And then we went back to the Democrats. And even with Rona, there's measurable data points that life got worse under the Democrats. So what is the argument that you're even making? You're just sitting here coping. Well, actually, that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Give me something. Give me something.
Homophobic, the massive warmongering in the United States.
Something other than that, because nobody gives a shit about that. I mean, well, if you're talking about warmongering, I'm with you there. But Trump was the biggest anti-war president that we've had ever.
The super anti-LGBT obsession, the like all of that stuff, of course that created this fervor.
Oh, which is so much worse than the LGBTQ tokenization, right? Oh, you want to go there? We could go there, homie. We can talk about LGBTQ. You want to talk about LGBTQ? Oh, you think Biden gives a fuck? Oh, he'll give a fuck, but not the type of fuck we're talking about. The type of fuck that's written in a diary. That's
left that was like, oh, well, I hate you guys. Like, we need to have gay marriage, and you know, you guys are against abortion. But yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, of course, both sides are reaction.
Wait a minute. Who was the first president to come into office accepting of gay marriage? Oh yeah, it was Trump.
To what the other side is doing, and that's not a new thing, right? Like Trump being created as some radical left group of people in the United States. I believe that.
But you just
course.
said, you just said, bro, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're saying it's nothing new, but you just brought up gay marriage. And the first president You brought up warmongering. The first president to not start a new war in decades. The first president to be in favor of gay marriage on day one was Donald Trump. I'm not saying that makes him even better than Obama. I'm not even making that argument. I'm not having that conversation. You can have that conversation if you want. I'm not saying that. But you are saying the opposite. And everything you're saying is completely disregarded by the actual reality of what happened. And the fact that this is your job, you guys know me. I try to come in and give people the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they're this, maybe they're that. And this sounds like Destiny is straight up lying. He knows what he's saying is not true. Because how? I know it. And he knows a lot more about all of this than I do. And if he doesn't, then that's fucking sad. Because in 2015, I thought MSNBC was the end-all, be-all of news. So if you don't know better than me, then you certainly don't deserve to be who you are. Get me on Triggernometry. I'll fucking... Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is
radical left didn't come from nowhere either. That was created out of radical conservatives for a long time too. That's just how that's the rhythm of politics, right?
Okay, and if that's the rhythm of politics, would you agree that things have become more heated now? That things have become more... Yeah.
Exactly.
So I guess my question is to you as somebody who's obviously very intelligent and understands politics, how do we take the temperature down? How do we get better candidates for America? Because I think we can both agree Biden and Trump don't represent the best of your country.
Well, Biden's my guy. That guy represents a lot of good America. But obviously, as a Biden fan, I would say that. But I would say that the number one issue that we have right now is probably the internet. It's given us the ability to self-segregate in ways that we never have before.
Why is that a bad thing? Segregation is a bad thing because it's external. Self-segregation is not necessarily a bad thing. I do think echo chambers are a bad thing. But that's the question on the table.
Fixate and find any piece of information that I want to support any story that I want, and then I can join another group of people and we can all share it amongst ourselves. And there are huge financial incentives for honing in on the piece of information that people want and serving it to them. And I think all of these things...
answer the polls. What are you doing? Come on. I'm putting polls out. I got a whole show running for you. Like, what are we doing here? I thought this was a party. I could go to bed if y'all not trying to party.
Like play really toxically on human psychology and combined with capitalism, basically make this huge pot of gold waiting for anybody that can figure out how to serve you the most content that you want that agrees with what you already agree with over and over and over and over and over again. And I think the internet has like uniquely accelerated that problem.
So what you're saying is that with this new landscape called the internet, it raises the necessity of personal responsibility and accountability. But ironically, it's the people who agree with you who are perpetuating ideas that lower the need for these exact things that would help the problems you are talking about. But go on about how your progressivism is so progressive.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And we do our best to stay away from that when we can. And of course, it's very easy to look around and go, oh, there's somebody else who just wants to feed their audience red meat all day long. Mm-hmm. So you answered very well Francis' question about where it's coming from.
Did he know?
How do we address it? What do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's I don't know. I just came on here. Well, I think what's more likely is he just doesn't care about this interview, and he's probably playing a game. I saw this from I just subscribed to Triggernometry. You should too. Thank you, Triggernometry, for the content for us to react to. But I wasn't subscribed to them before, so I learned of this from Destiny's reposting of this. And now that I've seen this, and I'm seeing how it's going, number one, I'm wondering why he reposted it. I'm wondering, too, what his comment section looks like. And if he chopped it up to make it look different. Because if he did that, then you can't come back from that, honey.
Oh, this is where I give you the answer that I shouted at you for giving me about the family stuff. I don't, it's a big problem. So this is the number one issue, and so if you've ever,
I agree. It's the number one issue, by the way.
Or no, well, so here's the problem. Okay, in order to fix,
it's the number one issue. I agree with you. It's the number one issue. No, it's not the number one issue. Fucking leftists.
Anything, first you have to recognize what the problem is, but most people won't actually recognize the problem. I'm 33. When I was a kid,
Oh yeah, the problem is that kids don't have lunch food at school, right? Or no, it's that there was a problem that caused that, and you didn't actually identify a core problem. You just identified a symptom of the problem.
There was this idea that the internet was going to be this amazing thing because now you can look up whatever piece of information you want. You've got so much at your fingertips. A lot of the internet and the information age rests on this absolutely faulty idea that humans are intrinsically truth-seeking machines, and that is absolutely not true. We do not gravitate towards things that are true. We gravitate towards things that make us feel good. And as the internet gets larger and larger and more information is put out there, people keep saying, well, the studies are available. There's Wikipedia, there's fact checkers, there's news sites, there's YouTube, there's all this stuff. You should know what's true and what's not true. It doesn't make the reason why that doesn't work is because people aren't seeking out what's true. They're seeking out what's entertaining or what makes them feel good about themselves.
But are you not generalizing? Because look, I am not.
I mean, just because he's generalizing doesn't mean he's wrong. But I'm interested to see where he's going with this line of questioning. Because just because we generalize all the time, because that's how we deal with broader issues. We can't deal with broad issues on a case-by-case basis in one conversation. So let's see where that goes.
Perfect. I am not perfect, and I definitely like to have my opinions confirmed. But one of the things we've really tried very carefully to do on the show is to genuinely seek truth and to change our mind when we're confronted with facts and to discuss things with people who have different opinions. And our audience, some of them like it, some of them don't. But
Destiny's like, what's that like?
Generally speaking, we don't give a shit because.
Just kidding. We got to give a little bit more credit to Destiny, but I try to take it conversation by conversation. I'm trying to take what I know of Destiny out of the video that we're watching, because in the video that we're watching, this is abysmal. This is pathetic and embarrassing.
Because we believe that's the mission of trigonometry, and the people who want that will come. And we just interviewed a guy called Isaac Saul, who's created a website, which is like a media website that both conservatives and liberals rate very highly on trust because it covers things.
Guys, hit the poll, please.
Objectively, and
it's very relevant to a point I'm going to make. Please hit the poll.
So, do you not think, like you were talking about politics, where you get action, reaction, there will also be a reaction against this echo chamberness that we are seeing now? And I think quite a lot of people. I mean, you yourself, aren't you an example of this? You were somebody who was feeding red meat or blue meat or whatever to your audience, and then you decided you didn't want to do that anymore.
I try not to, but the difference is that like I go out of my way to have there are different things that I do to make sure that I'm not just doing the echo chamber thing. So for instance, for any topic that I debate, I can always convincingly debate the other side. There's not a single issue that I argue on where I can't.
Did he really just say that? I don't have. Okay.
Give the other side's argument better than anybody really that would debate on it, because I've heard all of the best arguments for it. So there's a lot of clips of me arguing this is why the Holocaust didn't happen, or this is why Black people deserve whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's just me providing the other side and this.
You know, actually, I'm going to take that back, because I have seen him represent things that he doesn't believe in. So that brings me back to the question. Why is he bullshitting us right now?
What they would say.
Sounds like great content, mate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, people will clip it and go, "Oh my God, Destiny's nuts." Blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying that, so that's one thing I'll do, right? I'll make sure that, okay, yeah, whatever I'm arguing, I can always argue the other side. I'm not just giving my points. That's one thing. A second thing I'll do is, anytime I hold a position on anything, I'll always ask myself the question: what would it take to change my mind on a particular issue? And if I don't have an answer for that, if there's nothing that would change my mind, then I know that I'm getting lost down some type of echo chamber.
Fair enough.
There's a bunch of other smaller things, but those are two big things that I'll try to keep in mind when it comes to forming and solidifying my political opinions and then arguing with other people. But
I think those are good. Those are good tenets to live by. But it's led him down so many incorrect roads in just this conversation that it's curious to me again why that's happening. If he knows so well what Trump supporters think, what never Trump GOP people think, if he understands all of these things and he can argue these things from their perspective, then why is he getting caught off guard and double speaking in this conversation? Like, clearly that's not true then. Clearly you think you got it. Well, like you do, bro.
I find that a lot of people don't do any of these things. There's a lot of people that ask us like, okay.
Facts. Most people don't do shit. They hear a thing that they like, just like he was talking before. People are not truth seekers. People seek something out that will make them feel good. And as long as there's a source that they can use, well, I saw it on the internet, I saw it on TikTok, so it must be true.
Okay, well, how strongly do you believe in this thing? What is the strength of your conviction? I'm like, oh, I would say it's like a 9 out of 10. I'm like, wow.
Christians, you might want to take this into account. And next time we have a conversation about religion, what would get me to change my mind? What's the strength of my conviction, so on and so forth.
Like, how much research do you do? And it's like, well, I listened to a Joe Rogan podcast on it. Okay. What would it take to change your mind? It's like, I don't know if you could change my mind. You have a 9 out of 10 conviction on something that you heard one time on a podcast, and nothing can change your mind over it. I think that's the majority of people.
No, look, you're making good points, but that isn't what I was saying. What I was saying is, if you are seeking the truth, and we are seeking the truth as best we can, we're not perfect. None of the three of us are, of course.
That's a big. Where am I? That's a big part of it too. Is that people on the left will assume that they're the only ones that are actually trying. Whereas again, people on the right, like there's just a level of, even if it's begrudging compassion, in the sense where you're willing to be even vitriolic and mean, there's still. Let's see, poll. There's a poll. Are you not on? Let me try it again. So, well, just yes or no. Do you think the MAGA crowd? That's a yes or no. So, do you think the MAGA crowd and the Republican base, the base of the GOP, do you think the MAGA crowd and the GOP base, are they one and the same, or are they two different entities? Same, or yes or no? Do you think they are the same? Mike says Trump exposed a lot of people on the debate stage as empty suits. Politicians in the Republican Party, Republican like Jeb Bush, I don't think he'll ever run again after what Donald did. I mean, I think he's going to run again this year, not this year, but this election. And I think it would be smart. I think he is in a much better position now than he was before. And again, it goes back to the stuff that we were talking about. I mean, he is. Oh well, maybe not. I thought he was on here. Maybe not. I guess he's old news. But hey, I don't know who Tim Scott is, and Donald Trump's here. We got 9 more. So let's see. Ted Cruz. He's not even on here. Out of 100 cents, he gets 0. But I mean, so you can see like the level of seriousness as we go down. Of course, all of these 1 cent are going to have a slight different levels. They're not all exactly 1 cent. But so you see at the very bottom, people you never heard of. I think I've heard of Larry Hogan, but I don't know who that is. I've heard of Josh Hawley. I don't know who that is. But then, first person we get who is a name, we got Marco Rubio. And then, I had this big. Yeah, we got a bunch of people we don't know here, and then Marco Rubio, Tucker, Ted Cruz, and Mitt Romney all at 1 cent. And so, I don't know. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So let me try this. I ended the poll. Let me try one more time. That will make me feel better about the first poll that nobody answered if you couldn't see it. But yeah, I 100% agree with you, bro. Like, the fact is that that low energy, it's not just the low energy comment that destroyed Jeb Bush's chances. It was the fact that was really the first blow that Trump like let out. You know, I don't remember the exact timeline. I know you call women fat pigs. It's like, no, just Rosie O'Donnell. That was awesome. But even I wish I wasn't brainwashed when he said that. I wish I could have laughed at that. But I was like, how dare you? But that was when he was in the final stages of the debate. So when he first called Jeb Bush low energy, we were all like, whoa, you can say that in a presidential debate? Like, this dude's fucking wild. What is going on? And so that's why that really stung him way harder than, I mean, do you even remember the nicknames for Rubio and I think it was Lion Ted Cruz. I don't remember what Rubio was and all of this stuff. And then juxtaposing that with the name that he has for Ron DeSantis. What is it? Ron DeSanctimonious? Like, bro, what? Trump was lightning in a bottle. And I think he's had his time in the sun, and he did a lot for this country in the sense that he broke down the status quo. That was very powerful. But I don't think he had the know-how or the power or the connections or anything like that to do anything more than that. And that's perfectly fine, because now that puts us in a situation where we can continue that work of rebuilding, specifically the right wing, because the left wing has been going and going and going and going and going, and they are rebuilding and building and building and building. And some people are with it, and the rest of us who were, like, I call myself 2015 liberal, I was good, you know, the whole thing. And it is now time for those of us who are not willing to stand with the left anymore, or those of you who have been against the left, for us to come together and to make sure that whatever they have for us next, because we certainly could not have thought of Drag Queen Story Hour before it happened. So whatever they have in store for us next, we have to be ready to deal with it. So I'm assuming this is to the question. So Mike is saying, no, the MAGA crowd and the GOP base are not the same people. Okay, so we had... Mike, did you hit the poll or did somebody else hit the poll? Because now we have one vote on the poll. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. But anyway, moving on. So none of us are perfect, of course.
But if we're doing that, why don't you think that other people also want that?
I just don't think there's much of a reward for it. It's pretty rare. Like, I built a brand off of that kind of stuff, but I've also paid like a really heavy price for it too. Now, I'm lucky that I'm big enough online that I can afford to pay some prices, but there's a lot of money there's a concept called audience capture, where you begin to deliver a certain type of content, your audience likes it, and then you keep feeding them what they want. And that's like where most of the money online is to be made. You know, people will constantly say this thing, media is a reflection of what the people want, but all the people do is complain about the media. However, people will complain, I don't like the media, they're too sensationalist, they're too radicalized, they're too horrible, blah, blah, blah. But then you look at the media they consume, they're not watching like NPR or PBS or...
Bro, this whole conversation started with them saying, hey, I really enjoyed your conversation with who? Peter Boghossian. And what has Peter Boghossian been up to lately? He's been reviewing how bullshit NPR is. He has a whole series. I think their big show is All Things Considered. Is a whole series of all of these things. Where are we? All of these different episodes. An hour here, an hour and 13 minutes, an hour and 52 minutes, an hour. All of these are just basically an hour-long thing of being like, wow, NPR really, really sucks. Maybe we should, I don't know, stop listening to them because they lie. But yeah, no. You're good. NPR, they're not consuming good things like NPR.
like these boring, dry documentaries. They're watching people screaming at each other about how like we need to go and kill all of these people, or we need to throw these people in jail. And it's like, bro,
speak for yourself. Yes, I do watch those on your panels, Destiny. But if you look at the actual playlist on my channel of other people's videos, it is entitled "If You Care What I Watch." It's boring as fuck. Not all of it, but a lot of it is boring because it is that dry stuff that gets into the weeds of what you claim to care about, but you seem to engage in the type of content that you're hating on right now. Hey, we got indie film in the building. What is good? What is good? What is good? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are talking about Destiny going on the Triggernometry Podcast and disappointing us all.
You're consuming exactly the type of media that is being served to you. Like, of course,
But see, again, not I know I keep positioning myself as this brilliant counterexample,
sure.
but I've stopped watching lots of people who went down the path that you talk about.
Okay.
I'm not going to name names, but
and how many of us have done that? How many of us have seen in even just the last 5 years? Let's not even talk about the last 10 years. Just the last 5 years. This is before Rona, before lockdowns, before all of that. Tell me in the last 5 years you haven't seen an explosion of people who don't trust or even use the term mainstream media. You didn't hear that term in 2012 unless you were underground, unless you were in the weeds. It didn't happen. But now mainstream media, even your fucking Joe Schmo is like, oh yeah, mainstream media. Blah, 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 blah. Because they know it's all bullshit. Which has been proven many times over by people, great actual journalists, like Andy No, like Project Veritas. But no, NPR. Oh.
There are lots of people who started out, for example, being like, hey, I'm a liberal. I'm just asking questions about, and before you know it, they're like this massive conservative. I'm like, well, that's not interesting to me, right? And
that's awesome. If you do that, that's awesome. But like, I'm pretty sure Tim Pool is like one of the most popular, like second or third most popular media podcast.
Yeah. I would pay money to see the two of them sit in a room for 5 hours. And I guarantee I would put $1,000. I would put $5,000 on a poll of both audiences, weighted for whatever the size difference is, and everybody votes. I guarantee you Tim would come looking better. Tim talks to actual journalists, actual politicians, actual people in the political world. Destiny sits at his desk, plays Minecraft or whatever the fuck it is, and talks to other Twitch streamers. And he's great at it. Don't get me wrong. He's great at what he does. But to compare himself, I don't even know what he's going to say about Tim. But come on, bro. Hey, we got Mela 2 in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Save your money. Great message. Not really sure how it's relevant, but it is always relevant, right? Save your money. Good message. Welcome to the party. We are checking out Destiny going on the Triggernometry Podcast, and seems like he's lying to us. I just do not know. Mike says the Republican Party's tent is getting bigger and bigger, and this is why.
Oh, sure. No.
And that guy's off the wall a lot, like, yeah.
Is he though? Is he though? I'm off the wall. I was just, I don't want to take up too much time, but I was just, no, fuck it. We're doing it. I was just watching whatever the last thing from Tim I was watching. I was like, and people call him, was it this? It wasn't from the podcast. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. I just want to. This is the crazy guy.
Arguments. Now, why is it?
Well, let's just go. Let's watch the first 5 minutes.
Speaking at Turning Point USA's America Fest.
This is who he just said is crazy and wild.
Kari Lake had some choice words for Maricopa County election officials, calling for them to be locked up.
We're not going to watch the whole thing. I'm just speeding up so we get the point. But you tell me, is this crazy? This is specifically about what they're talking about with the election jigging, or I don't want to say FR. You know what I mean? They're talking about that shit. So you would expect that if somebody was crazy, like Destiny just said, that this would be the way, this would be the thing that they wild out on, right? So let's see. Let's just watch the first 5 minutes. And then we'll skip to the middle 5 minutes, and we'll see.
This is really fascinating. Kari Lake's battle right now over what happened with the election in Arizona, I believe, is one of the most important battles in this country, because the midterm is not
crazy
over. The midterm election, although it happened over a month ago, we have the certification in the election in which Kari Lake was running for the governorship, but there is an election-related lawsuit still underway with questions that need to be answered. Now, while the shocking story may be that Kari Lake has called for imprisoning Maricopa County election officials, the one thing that I find very fascinating here is a story from AZ Family. Judge takes a motion to dismiss lawsuit filed by Kari Lake under advisement. Interesting story filed just a moment ago, and I'm reading this, and they don't really lay out the position of the Kari Lake campaign, in which there are many very important questions, and I don't know what to say. Now, I can tell you, they've certified the election for Hobbs, for the Democrat, and so it's supposed to be a done deal. However, Arizona law does allow for an election contest. So this is where it gets really interesting, because YouTube has their weird rules about how you can't question certified elections. So I don't know to tell you, YouTube, there is an election contest
all right, so tell me when he goes crazy.
under the law underway. I am not here to tell you.
According to you, because maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm biased. You guys know I liked him. Maybe I'm biased.
Definitively one way or another what happened or anything like that. But I will point out the arguments being made by Kari Lake's team, and I think some of the arguments.
And this is what I meant when I said boring and dry. Not that this notion of what's going on with Kari Lake in Arizona is boring, but it is rather dry. And you saw, I didn't know this was coming up. This is already in my history. And I think this is already on the playlist, right? No, it's not. I don't really care that much about this specific thing. But point stands. Let's see. Crazy or nah?
Have merit. I mean, first and foremost, the ballot tabulator errors. This is confirmed fact-based news. It's not speculation. It happened. Now, what they're saying officially, anyone who tried to vote and the machine kicked it back was still able to vote. I say fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. Now, we should probably get a random sampling of those ballots that were kicked back and test to make sure that they were accurately counted, right? There's a viral video of a man, and he says, if you went to the bank to count your life savings, and they said, sorry, the counter's not working, just put it in box number 3, and then we'll let you know later how much money you actually got. You'd say, no way. And he asks, now what's more important, your vote or your money? Excellent point. Just ask Mark Zuckerberg, among other individuals who spent large sums of money to have an impact on this election. Kari Lake is asking questions about that. Asking questions about 25,000 ballots they say came in after the deadline, and about there being no chain of custody on some universal mail-in ballots. Again, I am not ascribing any veracity to.
All right, so he's introducing the story. Let's move up a little bit and see if he goes. Oh, he's going to Twitter. He's going to Twitter. He's going to have a crazy reaction on Twitter. Let's see.
We're a constitutional republic, and our constitutional republic needs protecting from those who want to know, who need to know, and are willing to know what's going on to defend the constitutional republic. Here we go. Tracy Beans with a live thread.
Again, we're not going to watch this whole video. I just want to give you a specific example of something that, if we're talking about a crazy right-wing person, and we have news that a Trump-supported candidate could possibly overturn an election and prove that there was perhaps untoward behavior in the election, you would expect the Alex Jones treatment here. But I'm not getting that. Are you?
What's happening in the motion to dismiss. Now, the judge, in the end, said, okay, I'm going to take this, and then we'll go, you'll get my ruling soon. Tracy says it may be by the end of the day. She thinks maybe tomorrow. Here we go. Defendants claim the expedited nature of this suit is a problem. They say the court shouldn't entertain Kari Lake's claims. They're outside of bounds. To declare someone else a winner, the complainant must establish fraud or enough votes to change the outcome.
Wow,
Defense saying cavalier use of
crazy.
fraud. She doesn't allege fraud in her lawsuit. Her response brief
He's
asserts
like reading the news.
Prove fraud, just
he's like
intentional
informing
conduct.
people
Claim
of what's
falls in
going
fraud,
on.
Get number of votes to change outcomes.
This is
So
crazy.
the Lake campaign
This
is not
is
saying fraud.
insane.
They're saying that there was intentional conduct which resulted in problems in this election. Again, that's hard to prove. It is hard to prove intent. I hope you have some communications. If all it turns out to be is that machines broke, I don't tell you. Machines broke. I mean, it could suck. It could.
What a crazy conspiracy theorist. If the machines broke, the machines broke. So that is who he just said is here for yourself. Here for your goddamn self. As soon as this starts working.
I'm like, well, that's not interesting to me, right? And
that's awesome. If you do that, that's awesome. But like, I'm pretty sure Tim Pool is like one of the most popular, like second or third most popular media podcasts.
Oh, sure. No.
And
look,
that guy's off the wall a lot, you know? Like, yeah.
I've been on his show and I challenged him and he immediately unfollowed me on Twitter afterwards. So there you go. But that's not my point. My point is, if there are people like you and if there are people like us, isn't that actually reason for optimism? And if we are doing that, there've got to be other people there who are not content creators who are also interested in that process of de-radicalization, if you want to call it that.
Oh, sure. I think it's possible. Yeah. I think there is cause to be optimistic for it. I think something that's happened over the years is people that are correct assume that they don't have to dress their message up at all because they're factually correct. And what's happened is over the years, over a decade, basically people that I would say are incorrect have spent so much time dressing their message up to make it exciting, entertaining, easily palatable, and they've done a really good job of growing audiences, while people who are, what I would say, more factually correct are just lazy and boring, and they don't do much to make their message more, digestible to people. So I think
calling us lazy and boring, mate.
well, no, or even myself. Like,
all right, let me see if you can see the new poll.
I would say about myself for a long time, like, oh yeah, there's no point in arguing this. Like, people just want sensational content, blah 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 blah. But I think if you put a lot of effort in,
if you are one of the leaders in the space, and you determine, oh, okay, well, people just want sensationalist content, and then you start making sensationalist content, what kind of effect do you think that has? Versus doing the content that you believe in, that maybe only 2 people on YouTube and 1 person on Twitch are going to watch you talk about. Yeah, I could bullshit y'all and get a lot more views. I know exactly how to do it. But I don't want that. And I don't think you do either, Destiny. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Into making like good content around stuff that isn't like super politically radical, I think you can get viewers doing it. That's my current political project is what I'm trying to do.
Well, that's what we're saying. Yeah.
And I think it's important as well. It's to have faith in in the audience and have faith in your fellow human beings, because it's very easy, you know. And look, I do it as well. When you see these, you know, so and so destroys so and so, whatever it may be, they get huge views. You think, oh, this person or all these people love this. And it goes, just because something is popular.
Say something in the chat. If you cannot see the poll, please hit the poll if you are here.
Actually doesn't mean that people enjoy it. Doesn't mean that they find it rewarding. You know, if you look at the mainstream media, one of the biggest interviews in the history of the internet in UK media was when Channel 4 interviewed.
Channel 4, biggest interview in UK history. It's got to be like the Queen. Yeah, can you guys see the poll? Have you answered the poll? The guy on the left, this guy, yes, he is one of the co-hosts, a comedian of Triggernometry. These 2 guys are the Triggernometry host, and of course that's Destiny. I don't remember. I remember. His name is in the description. I copied and pasted it. So this is Francis. So whatever the other guy's name is, if you search that, you can check that out and see what kind of things they talked about afterwards. And you know, is it a good look for him to say, well, I pushed back at Tim and you know, he unfollowed me on Twitter? Okay, that's not the best look. If that's what happened, then I don't support that action, Tim. But is it more likely, knowing Tim's content, that he cares so much about you with your 367,000 subscribers, with his fucking like 2-3 million subscribers across channels and platforms? Or is it more likely that both of you are in a realm that before Elon Musk was ripe for fuckery, And maybe he just got unfollowed by you. I'm just saying. It does make sense to me. I know Tim's got an ego. I do not want to be Tim. I want to accomplish what Tim has accomplished, but I think I am more right on things that I'm right about, and I think if I continue doing this, then I will have better views by the time I'm at the stature that Tim is. But that being said, I certainly expect more legitimate politics coming from Timcast than a Destiny Twitch stream. Or excuse me, he got banned from Twitch for hate speech or some bullshit. I mean, what are we doing here, guys? What are we
Viewed Jordan Peterson.
Oh! So what you're saying is that's the Kathy Newman one.
And it was kind of a gotcha style interview, and that produced the same. So what you're saying is, right? Mm-hmm. Because she kept trying to misrepresent. Mm-hmm. And it got huge views, but it really destroyed Channel 4's reputation. I mean, there are a lot of people, and anecdotally, and people that I talked to, who saw that as a time when the mainstream media lost their way, not just Channel 4. So I think it's important to have faith in people and realize that a lot of people want to be treated like adults as well.
Did he say faith? Just kidding. Sorry, I'm gonna just stop trying to yell into the mic. But, you know,
yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Yeah, I mean, that's the direction that I'm pushing my political content. So hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, and you said you paid a heavy price for what you would for your views and your opinions. What do you mean by that, Destiny? What
did you know?
It's a heavy price.
Well, I mean, I didn't toe the line on the Rittenhouse thing. I felt pretty strongly about that, and it cost me my partnership on Twitch. I get into fights with a lot of what I would consider very radical trans people, and that I think arguably cost.
Oh no, the trans radicals don't agree with me. What a true tribulation. How did you make it out of that? Welcome to everyday life as a normal person.
Cost me my account on Twitch. So yeah, I mean, depending on who I'm fighting with at any point in time, depending on how principled I want to be in my positions, it can get me into a lot of trouble. But,
and what was your beef with the trans issue? I'm curious.
I don't believe that trans women and cis women should be competing together in the same athletic events. I don't think that there's a good argument for that.
You lost your Twitch account for that?
I don't know. I can't honestly tell you. All I know is that
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a reason that there's only one of you from Twitch here. I would love for you to say hello. I don't know who you are, but there's a reason only one of you from Twitch are here, is because the things that we talk about, things that come from this type of thinking, are not welcome on Twitch. It's funny how I started streaming to YouTube and Twitch at the exact same time. And we're mighty close to monetization. If you haven't subscribed, come on. We're right at the finish line. I need you. Please hit that subscribe button. But maybe 3 or 4 people on Twitch. No, I mean, Positile, is that you? Because it was Positile back in the day. And then he came over to YouTube for a while. And then, I don't know. So Twitch is gonna Twitch.
Account got banned the next day for it said hateful speech, but they don't tell you exactly what it was. So, but I don't use transphobic slurs. I'm very pro-trans. I don't use any slurs or anything like that.
So again, for the 2 of you who are on YouTube, any film, and I'm assuming Mike or maybe Abella or whoever, one of you has answered the poll. Can you see the poll? The same is MAGA crowd and GOP base the same people. I can't see who voted. I know, Mike, you answered before. But only one person, there's 2 people here, only one person voted. So can you not see the poll, or did you feel like being a dick?
Yeah, so I don't really know what my account got banned for.
What does it mean that you're very pro-trans?
I think that trans people are real. I think that they're entitled to some type of medical treatment. I probably would support minors seeking medical treatment, depending on the roadblocks that are there or the path to getting medical treatment there. It just depends on the particular issue.
Okay, so you would see minors. What are we talking about with minors, Destiny? At what age would you say somebody should be allowed to seek medical treatment?
All of it's going to come down to what clinically becomes like the most effective line of treatment. But essentially, if somebody knows, I think that if by like 13, 14, especially when you start going through puberty, you're going to know if you're trans or not. You're going to definitely feel it then.
Are you though?
But they're not. But if they are trans, they'll know it then.
Oh no, because I'm pretty sure there's a whole heap of evidence of people that think they're trans, the whole social contagion thing, and you leave them alone, and in a couple of years, by the time they're post-puberty, they turn out to either be completely fucking normal, yes, normal, or just gay. Now, if you have a problem with gay people, that's your own thing. But I don't. I don't want to fuck them. I'm not gay myself. But if that happens to be your persuasion, not my problem. And not a problem at all. But if you think that's a problem, then maybe you're a bigot. A bigot with blue hair?
How dare you?
And he says, yes, let's chop up children. The most effective line of treatment is no treatment. Exactly.
So we need to figure out better forms of therapy or counseling to where we can weed out the people that probably aren't trans and are having other problems in their life versus the ones that definitely are trans, so that hopefully you can avoid them going through the catastrophic male puberty for trans women is the thing that fucks them up a lot.
Right. Well, would you agree? That's actually, I think, quite a healthy way to a large extent of looking at it, which is we need to make sure that the people who are getting the physical and hormonal transition really are the ones that are like definitely trans. Because we've seen in this country, I don't know if you're familiar with the Tavistock Clinic and all the associated.
I'm pretty sure. No, as I was saying it's not. Because I was thinking it was the same clinic that when we watched What is a Woman? The Canadian dad who was in jail. Yes, jail. No. Excuse me. I was incorrect. I said jail, but I was wrong. I said jail, but really, I meant prison. He's in prison for not letting his only son transition at 14.
Associated things that have been going on in this country, but we've seen thousands of people now suing because they were encouraged to transition when perhaps it wasn't the right decision for them. Would you agree that we probably went too far in that direction at some point?
Mike brings up a great point here about how the Covington case, and ironically, who was one of the only people who was like, hold on, we don't have a story here yet. When CNN and MSNBC and a lot of Twitter journalists and YouTubers were all like, hey, look at this racist, Tim was one of, I don't know, I doubt he was the only person, but he's one of very few people who was like, this is nothing. This is a video of a kid smiling and somebody beating a drum in his face. But the entire country decided that because that kid was wearing a MAGA hat that he bought, probably even as a joke, he's fucking 16, 17 years old. How often do 16, 17-year-olds really care about politics? It was way more likely to be a thing about, oh, I just want to be edgy and people don't like MAGA hats, so I'm going to buy a MAGA hat. Because we took a trip to Washington, D.C., and we're in Washington, D.C., and there's a fucking cart here, and it's $6 for a MAGA hat, and we can all take a picture, and it'll be funny. And then this racist race hustler comes up and starts beating a drum in his face, and as a child, yes, a child, he has no idea what to do. And the entire weight of the establishment mainstream media came downward. Great point, Mike. Great point, Mike. I mean, we probably went too far in that direction at some point. You think? Oh, your dad went to that in high school. Did he get accosted by any black Hebrew Israelites or indigenous peoples?
It's possible that the thing is, it's hard to say, like, are we going too far? I'm sure that you could find
No, it's not. I can say it. You're going too far.
examples of going too far. And
Genderqueer, just the tip. CRT, whatever even if it's not technically CRT, whatever this oppressor dynamic that you're teaching to children that is coming from critical race theory and applied principles of critical race theory, whatever you want to call it. The stuff that got Glenn Youngkin elected. I don't know what the fuck you want to call it. Whatever you call it, that's going too far. Child, drag your kid to drag. What is it? Drag your kid to drag or some shit. Drag your kid to trans or some shit. It's not gonna lick itself. You guys are familiar with genderqueer, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you don't know what I mean when I say genderqueer or just the tip. Because you need to know about that. And I'm not going to stop the show. So if you don't know what I mean by those two things, genderqueer and just the tip, please let me know, because I'm sure somebody else doesn't know and is too afraid to say it. Genderqueer, just the tip. Do you know? If you don't, say something.
Well, there's thousands of examples. This is
Yeah,
what
but-
I'm saying. Thousands of detransitioners, thousands of people suing.
Sure,
this
I
clinic.
understand what you're saying, but the UK has a population of like 70 million people. So when you say thousands of examples, I don't know if that means much, right? So I agree that we can probably find lots of examples of people going too far, but you would have to agree that there's probably lots of examples of not going far enough. Like, I'm pretty sure in the United Kingdom, the wait time for hormone therapy or related stuff, even if you have gone through the whole process, you're fully approved, is like 2 to 4 years.
Why do you think that is, Destiny? Why do you think that is, bro? Maybe there's too many fucking people trying to transition when they don't really need a transition. So the people who actually should transition because they're gonna fucking delete themselves otherwise are in the back of the line with a bunch of fucking 19-year-olds who are like, I just want to be like different. I thought you were smart, bro. What are you doing? What are you doing? And what did you do to this conversation that you felt comfortable posting it on your own channel?
Which is horrible, right? If we
Mate,
do
this is
believe
what
that-
happens when you have socialized healthcare. You're going to wait for an ambulance for about 40 hours in this
Well,
country.
thankfully in the United States, you don't have to wait. You just die because you can't afford the treatment. So,
Well,
I mean,
They're both bad options.
Well, that's not really how the emergency room works. Like, yeah, you might get into debt. And I am definitely in favor of some type of socialized healthcare if we can fix the government. But that's a long way away, isn't it?
yeah, well, I mean, you guys spend way less on your healthcare than we do, and we seem to have comparable outcomes. So, I mean,
Do we
Do you know that the National Health Service is like the fourth biggest employer in the world, I think, in this country. So we spend quite a lot on health. Let's not open that.
and yet we still spend probably in the United States, like 4 times more U.S. spending on health. Like, if I were to check, like the United States spends more money than anyone else in the world on healthcare. It's insane.
Well, of course, you're the richest country in the world. But
We also have the best fucking healthcare. Whether you have to wait for it, whether you have to, whether or not you can afford it, if you can afford it, it is the best. So maybe that doesn't work for people who can't afford it. I understand that. I'm not saying that it's not an issue, but there is a reason that it costs more. I mean, it may not be good reason, but reasons nonetheless.
Let's come back to the trans issue because this is kind of important. Yes, I am sure that there are some trans people for whom who ended up having to wait too long.
Sorry.
I think that's a lot less bad than people. No offense, I'm going to put it quite bluntly, chopping their dick off when they didn't mean to.
Yeah, but like the problem is like the less bad thing. Like, it feels like
the problem is the less bad thing. The problem is the less bad thing. Is there any other way to interpret that sentence? The problem is the less bad thing. So the good thing is the more bad thing. How is the problem the less bad thing? That's not what those words mean. Anyone says Destiny has no idea how bad healthcare is outside the U.S. Of course. Why the fuck would he? Actually, that's not true. I'm pretty sure he lived in Sweden for a while, and I think his girl's Swedish. So he has some idea. And that's why this is so frustrating. I thought this was going to be a fruitful, like, in the weeds conversation. It's just superficial shit. That's why I'm thinking, like, Destiny's probably playing some game and he just doesn't care about this conversation and he's just low effort. MMA fans, he's pulling a John Jones. He's just fighting to the level that he needs to. And these guys aren't pushing very hard. They're giving pushback, but it's not like they're going like on his Twitch bullshit. They're not yelling and screaming. And so as long as they're being cordial, then he can get away with just talking bullshit. Because they're gonna be like, wait. Like I would. So Destiny, come get the smoke. Come get the smoke. So permanently damaging a child or an adult with a radical surgery is the less bad thing. Apparently. But that's the problem. The less bad thing is the problem. So we want to go with the more bad thing because that's not the problem.
Let's see.
A child chopping their dick off seems like quite a big problem to me.
Yeah, but also somebody killing themselves because they're not allowed to get treatment because conservatives don't believe trans people are real. That's also a really big
Hold on.
Not believing trans people are real. There's a difference between not believing you are a thing and believing you don't exist. This is more semantic obfuscation from the left, specifically the alphabet community. That's denying my existence. No, it's denying what your existence is. If I said you are not a person, then I would be denying your existence. The same way I say you're not an attack helicopter. You're not a computer. You're not a dog. You're not a bit. Well, you might be a bitch, but all of those things do not deny your existence. That is just a made up thing. Now, I'm not saying some people might be delusional and think that, wow, this man who believes that he is a woman is a figment of my imagination. Okay. Congratulations, you've met a crazy person. I don't know what that has to do with your argument, but there is not one serious conservative, Republican, Trumper, anything that you can say, hey, look, there's Buck Angel, there's Blair White. Oh, those people don't exist. That is not reality.
Come on, man.
Hold on. First of all, I'm not a conservative. Secondly, I
didn't say you were, but I'm saying that's the other end of the argument.
You're
right?
arguing
Is it though?
with me, not with conservatives, right? So let's have the debate between me and you, not.
Stop trying to win an argument and just have a conversation. Trying to win an argument when you are in a pretty civil conversation like this doesn't look good.
Okay, well, but I'm not in favor of children chopping their dicks off if they're not actually trans. So I don't know who you're arguing with for that point, right?
No. You said that you.
Okay, so what is actually trans? I'm trans. Oh, well, then you're trans. You would consider that actually trans. That is the crux of the argument. You're saying that you're not telling people who are not actually trans that they should be doing this, that, or the other. That is begging the question. That is the argument. Are you doing that or are you not doing that? You think you're not doing that because you think the people that you are suggesting this treatment are in fact trans simply because of their self-report. Science, culture, and humanity, and most of all biology, would say that that is not correct. But you care because conservatives just don't believe you exist, right? So by default, you must be right. Film says people with the Napoleon complex are real. They're just not Napoleon.
I actually agreed with you. I said I think you're right to say that that people need to be weeded out. I think was the term you used.
Yeah.
To make sure that people who are going through transition are definitely the
This is where the semantic obfuscation is getting our boy in red here fucked up. Because he thinks when we say actually trans or definitely going through this, that is a very different standard than what Destiny would allow or promote. He thinks that as long as you think it, you're definitely really the real people. Yeah, that's actually trans. That is the argument. That is not the same thing as you arguing against other conservatives. What Red and White here are doing are specifically addressing your points and poking holes in them. And then you just have cope. That's all you have. This is the biggest streamer on the left. I mean, maybe you want to put Hassan in there, but I don't think that's going to help your case.
The people who need it, right? And what I'm saying to you, from my perspective, we had thousands of people who did do that, who were not actually trans and who needed help for autism or who needed help for some other kind of thing that they were dealing with, right? And isn't that a problem that shows that we went way too far in that direction, causing thousands of young children to be injured and maimed for life?
Okay, are you saying that in the United Kingdom, there were thousands of children given sex reassignment surgery?
I remember this part. So if you think there is a dramatic difference socially and in terms of how this whole gender bender ideology is being thrust upon us, if you think that there is a significant difference in that context, obviously when it comes to the physical body, there is a difference between taking hormones and having reassignment surgery. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you in the context that they are speaking about how this ideology is spreading throughout people. Do you think there is a meaningful difference between trans people who have gotten reassignment surgery and people who are trans people who have only transitioned in some other way? Or do you think that trans is trans in this context?
Like there were thousands. So if we have thousands of people suing the Tavistock clinic. There's probably more than that.
Well, hold on. I'm asking very specifically because you're saying that there were thousands of children in the UK. That would be tremendous if that was the case. You're saying there are thousands of children, minors, in the UK, is it 16
under
or
18?
18?
Under 18.
Under 18 had sex reassignment surgery. That
no,
means that.
No.
And watch, I remember this part. Watch, I was just like, oh, that's no big deal. So he's saying, no, they didn't get reassignment surgery.
No. They had some form of medical treatment in that area.
Look at Destiny. They had some type, or they had some form of medical treatment in that area. As Destiny's thinking, like, oh, I thought you were saying surgery, but no, it's they had some form of medical treatment in that area.
So either hormones.
I thought we were talking about chopping dick saw. All we're doing is sterilizing children with the same hormones that we use with predators. Now I get it. Okay, that's totally different.
What do you mean? Oh, hormones change your biology just the same.
Well, hold on. There's a huge difference between a 15-year-old went on puberty blockers for a year versus a 15-year-old had their penis chopped off.
Is there, though? I mean, yes, there certainly is. But again, in the context of what we're talking about, what is the meaningful difference in the trans ideology going too far? Remember, that was the original question. What is the meaningful difference between 15-year-olds sterilizing themselves or being sterilized by their parents more appropriately and them chopping their dicks off? Genuinely asking, what is the meaningful difference? What is made better or worse by the fact that most of these minors are only taking sterilization drugs versus chopping off parts of their body? Okay, now second question. Where do you think that leads? If we're giving hormones to children now, we weren't doing that 5 years ago, right? Where do you think we're going to be in 5 years? Where do you think the transgender activists should be? Hey, we got it! We won! Yay! everybody, we did it! We got all the trans is perfect. All of it. We did it. We won, guys. Yes, we did it. We're going to keep pushing further and further and further and further and further and further until there are 15-year-olds. Thousands getting their dicks chopped off. I mean, I certainly don't have a crystal ball, but I can look logically at what the fuck is going on and see that it's not slowing down, it's actually ramping up.
Those are not to say that either is okay, but like the puberty.
Well, that's my point. Neither is
exactly. Neither is okay. So for you to make it's the difference between the two is not relevant to this conversation. It's not. It's just not.
It's okay.
But they're worlds apart in terms of like.
Hey, we got Trey in the building. What is good? What is good? Trey says to answer the first question, they can still change their mind at some point. Can they know? Sure about that? Sure about that? And they just go back, just like in What is a Woman? They tell me it's just like pausing the song, and then and puberty just goes back to the exact note that you picked up on, right? Fuck. I think this is before your time, Trey. But we covered What is a Woman? That documentary. That of a woman who transitioned. And yes, she did get surgeries, but she has a lot of information here. This is specifically in response to Trey's comment. And shout out to Trey.
I never fit. I was an alpha female. So.
All right. Well, one's supposed to stop and one's supposed to play.
Executive that kind of just didn't fit in any box.
Jesus fucking Christ. What are we doing? Struggle streaming.
When psychologists
What the fuck?
or somebody that I was in love with or whatever said that I was in the wrong body, I started to think, well,
All right. I guess we're not going full screen.
maybe I am. I'm a biological woman that medically transitioned to appear like a male through synthetic hormones and surgery. I will never be a man. Is it transphobic for me to tell the truth? Why is it that a couple hundred years from now,
Yes, it is actually, according to people like Destiny.
if you dug up my body, they're gonna go, yeah, that was a woman, had babies.
Can you tell me about the procedures that you had?
I've had 7 surgeries. I've had 1 stress heart attack.
And again, Trey, I understand that I asked about the difference between surgeries and hormones, and you are addressing the hormones, but there is a reason I am showing you.
I've had a helicopter life ride with pulmonary embolism. I've had 17 rounds of antibiotics. I had 6 inches of hair on the inside of my urethra for 17 months. Nobody would help me, including the doctor who did this to me because I lost my insurance. I get infections every 3 to 4 months. I'm probably not going to live very long.
Was there any real discussion of the risks and the side effects? And
No, there's not. And I know that people want to think that there is, but there's not. The truth is that medical transition is experimental.
Medical transition is experimental. So he, she, whatever, didn't say only surgery. They're specifically talking about transitioning as a whole.
I have studies that said that medical transition helps mental health with kids. They've all been retracted, modified, changed. But the only long-term study tells us 7 to 10 years is when transgender people are the most suicidal. After surgery.
How dare you?
But that's transphobic to say.
Puberty blockers, which are completely reversible.
And so this is a gender affirming therapist. She's a therapist who already her job is to affirm whatever gender you think you are.
And don't have permanent effects are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty. It's like,
So this is what you're talking about, Trey. Saying to answer the first question, they can still change their mind at some point because of this. Let's see if there's a little...
if you were listening to music, you put the pause on and we stop the blockers and puberty would go right back to where it was. The next note in the song just delayed that period of time.
So again, just so we have that for Trey's point.
Permanent effects are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty. It's like if you were listening to music, you put the pause on and we stop the blockers and puberty would go right back to where it was. The next note in the song just delayed that period of time.
The next note in the song. All right, Trey, this is for you.
You can just pause puberty
No, you can't.
and then pick it up.
No, you can't.
in the future.
No, you can't. How many studies do they have, long-term studies, on hormone blockers with children? None. For the first time in history, a marginalized group has a huge dollar sign on the top of their head. Every child that they convince is transgender and in need of medical transition, it generates $1.3 million to pharma. And when you're a pharmaceutical company, Lupron, hormone blockers, reversible, so they say.
Lupron. That's the drug that they use to transition these children.
Well, the truth is that in 2003, Lupron was sued and deemed a criminal enterprise by the U.S. government.
How
They
dare
paid the
you?
most fine of any pharmaceutical company at that time, $874 million, wrote a check.
Is Lupron chemical castration?
Yes. We're giving it to pedophiles, aren't we? We're giving it to people that are dying, and we're giving it to kids, telling them that they were born in the wrong body and it's completely safe. We're telling children when they haven't fully developed that all you have to do is medically transition and you fit in. I was one of those kids. It got me at 42.
42. Got this person at 42 years old. Your child doesn't have a fucking chance against this shit.
Your child doesn't have a chance.
What do you say to parents? A parent comes to you and
I
says,
didn't.
"My
I've seen this a bunch of times. I honestly did not know that he was going to say that.
8-year-old son is telling me he's a girl."
They're great. You're going to have them do an experimental procedure that creates the most suicidal ideation of any other population 7 to 10 years after, transition. And here's what I tell parents. You don't have the right to medically transition your child.
Can kids consent? Do you think kids are
No.
capable of consenting to
No,
this?
they're not. Being a parent is loving the hell out of your kids and helping them see around corners. We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States promoting that.
If you can't see, this is a huge scar from basically his palm all the way almost up to his elbow.
And what?
That's a phalloplasty. That's a bottom surgery. We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States telling girls that they can be boys at $70,000 a pop in a surgery that has a 67% complication rate. That will kill me from infection that I can't sue on. We're butchering a generation of children because nobody's willing to talk about anything. I have 3 kids at the age that they're doing this to kids. I'm not transphobic. I love my kids and I love other people's kids, and you should too. This is wrong on so many levels.
So the notion of just changing your mind. Yes, of course, you can always change your mind. But once you've done certain things, there is no going back. Trey says, this is some sick ass shit, bro. I honestly didn't know shit went that deep. And that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. Because they will tell you. The doctors themselves, you heard it from her mouth. It's like playing a song and you press pause on puberty and it's like the next note picks up. That is a lie. That is a lie. And some of you, some of you, just generally speaking, some of you don't, 100,000%. This is an epidemic among millennial parents and Gen X parents. I don't have time to get into it, but basically there's a lot of, let's say like in and around the 1950s, before this really became a thing that people knew to look out for. You'd have people who were very sick. And Munchausen syndrome is when you pretend to be sick or you make yourself sick. Munchausen syndrome by proxy is something like where a parent feels like it's often a parent usually has a daughter. The daughter's getting older. The parent feels less needed. So the parent will slowly poison the child or make the child believe that they can't walk or something like that. Make them believe they're sick or make them actually sick so that the parent is needed or so the parent feels important. We're not making this shit up. We're not making this shit up. But yeah, no, you can just pause it and go right back. And that's not a dig at Trey. That's a dig at that bitch who fucking said it, and all the people who know better and don't say anything. Because I believe this, Trey. I don't blame you at all for not knowing how deep this shit goes. But now that you know, you have 4 children that you need to protect from this shit. You have 4 children that you need. No one else will protect them. Not even no one else will protect them. But there is an entire industry. What did you say? $70 million a pop to fuck up your children. And that's just a fucking Tuesday. Just actually feel bad for the kids who have real feelings about being in the wrong body and getting sold a bullshit dream. I was told all money ain't good money. Exactly. This makes it so much more difficult for the children who actually have gender dysphoria and actually could benefit from these treatments. This should not be a political battleground. But we are not the ones who started fighting here. And if we don't pick up the fight, if we don't take up figuratively arms against this, then they will continue to butcher your... I don't have children. You do. I don't have children for them to butcher. My dog's 12 years old. In 5 years, he's probably not going to be here, and I'm probably not going to get another one. Just because, I love dogs, but I train dogs all day. You know, I want to come home, and he's got to get out in the morning. You know, there's a whole thing. That's the whole other conversation. Point is, y'all need to fucking worry about this shit. Indian says, keep screens out of your children's faces. Don't let them on social media. Don't let them have a phone until they're 18, and you might have to homeschool if shit goes south. I would love if this was a realistic answer. And to a certain point it is. But for you to think that you can keep a 14-year-old boy or girl away from the internet just by not giving them a device? Come on. Come on. Especially if they're not your own kids. Before all of this, it's not like we didn't get into adult shit at 14 years old. When's the first time you drank? When's the first time you had sex? When's the first time you looked at porn? When's the first, any of these things? You were definitely under 18, most of you. So, I hear what you're saying, be more hands-on, be paying attention, but I can't agree that this is the answer. We are too far down that rabbit hole to just be like, no social media. Okay, well then you can't build a brand, you can't have any friends, because nobody fucking hangs out in person anymore. Nobody has a movie night, nobody has sleepovers. So if you're not on social media, then you're just going to be a fucking weirdo. How is that different than everything that we're talking about? The homeschooling part, absolutely. The more people that homeschool individually, the more that homeschooling pods will, the market for teachers to not be public school teachers or private school teachers, but be pod teachers, which is what we need. The people who were teachers 5-10 years ago, who don't like all of this shit, but because of the environment they're in, they don't. The younger the kids, the less control they have, because the more powerful the parent is on articulating things. And then as the kids get older, now you're kind of out of depth, because now they have their own fucking bullshit. They're like, well, this is oppression. And like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what cis means. So I 100% agree with homeschooling. But this is how liberals talk about guns. This is how liberals talk about guns. Sit on that.
Like harm.
They're not worlds
right?
apart.
Let's back that up. I don't remember what we're talking about.
The other end of the
But
argument.
you're
right?
arguing with me, not with conservatives, right? So let's have the debate between me and you, not.
Okay, well, but I'm not in favor of.
So he was saying he was arguing with what other conservatives say, and dude's like, okay, well, argue with me. And then Destiny tries, And okay, we're getting back into it. I gotta piss. We'll just let this run, and then
Children chopping their dicks off if they're not actually trans. So I don't know who you're arguing with for that point. Right?
you, because you're saying the definition of what is actually trans is the question. Yeah, we agree. Like, if you're actually trans, you should be allowed to be trans. Nobody's disagreeing with that. The question is, what does actually trans mean? That's where we left off. Oh, come on.
No, you said that, I actually agreed with you. I said, I think you're right to say that that people need to be weeded out. I think it was the term.
And this is the way they use semantic obfuscation. Like, no, we don't want to just like force people to transition. No, only if you're quote unquote actually trans. And so what actually trans in this situation means you are legitimately diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and the best way for you to continue your life and not end said life would be to have some type of gender affirming treatment. And I mean every other context that Destiny would be talking about really actually trans, he would be talking about people who identify as being trans. Semantic obfuscation.
You use to make sure that people who are going through transition are definitely the people who need it, right? And what I'm saying to you,
what does that
from
mean
my perspective, we
to
have
you?
thousands of people who did do that, who were not actually trans, and who needed help for autism or who needed help for some other kind of thing that they were dealing with, right? And isn't that a problem that shows that we went way too far in that direction, causing thousands of young
guys? If there's anybody here who hasn't liked the video, could you do that, please? That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Young children to be injured and maimed for life.
Okay, are you saying that in the United Kingdom there were thousands of children given sex reassignment surgery? Like,
there were thousands. So we have thousands of people suing the Tavistock clinic. There's probably more than that.
Well, hold on. I'm asking very specifically because you're saying that there were thousands of children in the UK. That would be tremendous if that was the case.
Yeah, tremendous. It would be tremendous. I know what he meant. What an odd word.
You're saying there are thousands of children, minors, in the UK, is it 16
under
or
18?
18?
Under 18.
Under 18
yeah.
had sex reassignment surgery. That
No,
means
no. They had some form of medical treatment in that area. So what do you mean? Oh, hormones change your biology just the same.
Well, hold. There's a huge difference between a 15-year-old went on puberty blockers for a year versus a 15-year-old had their penis chopped off. Those are not to say that either is okay.
That's the point. Neither is okay. Just because a murder is not the same thing as a carjacking. They're both instances of you imposing your will on somebody else and impeding on their rights. So what are we talking about?
But like the puberty.
Well, that's my point. Neither is okay.
But they're
like, can you imagine? Can you imagine if that was the conversation? We're talking about, well, we've had this many crimes and this. Well, wait, crimes or murders? Because murders and crimes aren't the same thing. No, well, crimes. Well, we had that. What are you saying? And how did he start this thing? I think conservatives just, they only use free speech when they want to be right. When they're right, when they're on the right side. To be fair, he may have said both sides. And I do agree that by and large, both sides are guilty of that. But just so happens that one side is more correct than the other.
Worlds apart in terms of like harm.
They're not worlds apart. If you take puberty blockers, that has a huge impact on fertility, on your life, on your voice, on your physical appearance. We see people who are basically young women with beards now. You think that's not a big transition for someone to go through?
I didn't say it wasn't a big transition.
So that's all I'm saying.
No, hold on. You said that it's not worlds apart. I'm telling you that it is worlds apart.
I didn't say so.
Okay, so what does worlds apart mean? You're using these vague terms. Worlds apart is not a measurement. Worlds apart is not an objective thing. Well, I think it's big. It's not big. Well, it's kind of big. I mean, it's bigger, but it's not. Define things. You know better than this. All three of you know better than this.
It's not worlds apart.
Yeah. Okay. I'm saying that.
And when you guys, like especially either in the panel or in Discord, when I try to nail down exactly what we mean, this is why. This is why. Because nobody knows what the fuck anybody is talking about. We're talking about what's not good and bad and big and worlds apart. These things don't mean anything unless you give them meaning. So what is worlds apart mean? What does it mean for them not to be the same thing, but for them both to be bad? Does that mean that I shouldn't be advocating against two bad things? I should only be advocating against the one thing that's worse? You said before something about something about less bad. I don't even remember what the fuck you said. It was so stupid. But most people will listen to this and be like, oh, Destiny's standing up for the trans community. What are we talking about?
That it is worlds apart. The difference between being on puberty blockers for a year versus having your genitals changed is huge. Right?
Okay, how? Fine. They're different. They're worlds apart. Okay, explain to me how they're worlds apart.
Right?
Of course.
Both can be bad. Okay.
The
Gotcha.
difference between being punched in the face and beaten endlessly in the face is quite big. I think that a young child being punched in the face is bad.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't understand how it goes further than that. Just like any film's comment here. Like, obviously, I don't want to read that. Right? You're not addressing the core issue of the conversation. You're cherry picking words, buzzwords, to play to your audience. And again, that's what I think is happening here. Is that because I only found out about this conversation through Destiny's channel. He doesn't give a fuck about 300,000 people on this channel. And the people who are his fans and who know what he means and agree with his stupid positions, I'd be like, yeah, Destiny, go! Here's $1 million for talking bullshit on the internet, which apparently everybody else can get at me. But that's not.
Okay. If it is the case that there are people that are inappropriately issued or prescribed medications or whatever as minors.
You take a moment. You just said if. Okay.
That sucks. What we have to figure out is like, what is the cost benefit, right? Like, let's say, for instance, it's the case that 10 children per year are prescribed something that they didn't need, and 10,000 children per year are prescribed something they did need. That'd probably be an acceptable trade-off. But if it's like 100,000 children a year given something they don't need, and 1,000 children a year giving something they do need, that would be a totally unacceptable trade-off.
Right. So now we need to determine what is needed and what is not. Not what is worlds apart. That is not relevant. Now you're getting to the point. Okay, what is needed? What is the criteria for needing something in this context? You're having a conversation without saying shit.
Right. And so this is what I'm saying. We have thousands.
So again, for those, sorry to keep stopping it, but for him to say, "Oh, conservatives this and da." Well, I'm sitting here watching this boring ass fucking conversation. And I'm making it a little more entertaining for you guys, but it's still not nearly as entertaining as I thought it was going to be. And we all are, I mean, change my mind. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think we're all on the trigonometry side and against what Destiny is saying. So what is it that we're doing wrong? We're just dumb. We just don't get it, I guess. We're just,
Thousands of people suing one clinic in this country.
Shit.
And this problem is even worse in the United States, statistically speaking.
I just watched this.
We have thousands of people. It is. Thousands of people doing one. Yes.
Yes. I don't think it is.
Well, this is where you and I
Do you know what it is? If he's about to say, where's your source without looking it up, well, he just looked other shit up, I'm going to flip out. I hope he's not going to do that.
Agree. Because you have paid medicine, there's the financial incentive to encourage this as well. But just stick with this point with me. Right.
Okay.
Thousands of children, over 1,000 people suing the Tavistock Clinic because they believe they were giving the wrong treatment in relation to transition. And it's my view that the reason that happened is that there was ideological capture. You talk about audience capture. There was ideological capture in these left-wing institutions, as we talked about before, that encouraged this process and ended up taking it way, way, way past the line that you and I both agree is the right line, which is let's make sure these people are definitely trans before we start cutting things off.
Yes. But again, we have to acknowledge that what Destiny determines as definitely trans is going to be very different than what Triggernometry says is definitely trans. And they both know that. But for some reason, they're just talking past each other. They're talking about what's totally, definitely, absolutely, awesomely trans without defining that. You can't be. I can't imagine. It can't be. It can't be that of these three people, they've gotten this far on this platform and they don't know that. Where's my money? If this is what YouTube is, then I am the next Mr. Beast. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where the disagreement is. Like, if
I know you're not sure what the disagreement is. It's with the words that you're using, worlds apart. The difference between reassignment surgery and hormones. Those are the two major disagreements. You're in the conversation. I'm watching it after the fact. This is playing right into your fucking head in real time, bro.
there are medical practitioners.
I'm asking you, do you think we went too far, given that those were the...
Remember, that was the question from like 25 minutes of this content ago. 25 minutes. Did the woke go too far? And then he talked about, well, I paid for my opinions. You know, I stood up for cis women not cis women not being with trans men in sports. And he never got back to, do you think this has gone too far? And I'm going to guess because he knows it's gone too far. But he's got something like 500,000 people watching who don't think it's gone too far. He just talked about audience capture. So he's going to play dumb. And just pitter-patter, just like a John Jones fight, light heavyweight John Jones fight. He knows he's better, so he's not going to really fight hard. He's just going to, be on defense, just do enough.
Results.
Holistically, no.
Let's get that question one more time. I don't know what that... because I like that reaction.
I'm not sure where the disagreement is. Like,
oh yeah, you're not sure where the disagreement is.
Medical practitioners.
I'm asking you, do you think we went too far, given that those were the results?
Holistically, no. For this one clinic, yeah, possibly. It sounds like it. You're saying that
finally we have a clear answer. One I disagree with, but at least a clear answer. He's saying, okay, at least this clinic sounds like they went too far. But that doesn't mean that the entire medical community has gotten too far. That is at least a respectable position that has some logic to it. I disagree, but at least we're having a conversation now.
they're going to be in the process of suing them. I don't know what that case is going to look like until it starts to play on the courts, but it could be the case that this clinic went too far, yeah.
Okay, if 1,000 women sued me on allegations of sexual harassment, would you conclude that I was a stand-up guy?
No.
Right. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
No. Do you see the difference, though? If you would...
And Destiny's right here.
Ask me, do you think that the Tavistock clinic went too far? I would say, yeah, of course. It sounds like it for sure it does. But you're not asking me that. You're asking me if the whole of trans stuff in the world has gone too far. And then you're citing me one court case that hasn't even started yet, where families might sue the Tavistock.
I mean,
yeah,
and this is why I don't feel bad that I'd heard Triggernometry of this podcast a lot, and I really appreciate them using letting me use their content. This absolutely falls under fair use, but they definitely could claim this stream. I hope they don't. But that being said, I have to be honest with you guys, and I am very disappointed. This is so entry level. And I want to apologize to you guys because I thought this would be a deeper conversation. And again, I think maybe Destiny did too, and that's why he's just not really playing the game. You can see him. You can see if you. I watch a lot of his stuff when there's drama, because there's been a little bit of drama in my tiny community that we've built here, and so I want to. When I see drama happening at his scale, I just want to see how he deals with it, see what's going on, because guys, we're growing. We're growing. We're at we just passed 750 subscribers, and we are definitely going to be monetized by Valentine's Day. That would be the number one gift, Valentine's gift that I could get. We are at 752 right now. So less than 250 people left. Point being, I don't remember what my point was. But any film, saving me with a comment, says, so is a mental disorder, everybody, so this is a mental disorder, everybody agrees. So why is the only mental disorder that we try to affirm money? What did Kelly say? $70,000 a pop. $70,000 a pop. And let me ask you another question. Do we think that children, minors, do we think that children who are on hormone blockers and stuff like that are more or less likely to chop their dick or boobs off the moment they can? Gets a little bit more difficult when you actually engage with the topic, right? Unlike these clowns. But I mean,
I personally know like 10 people that I've spoken to who are detransitioners, who were encouraged down this path in your country, not ours, that are public about it. Now imagine how much it takes to go public after.
He's going to go to, well, think about how many trans people are so scared because they're going to be oppressed, because American society hates the LGBT community, right? Right? I did watch this before, but it was at 2x speed, and I was making some Instagram reels at the time. So I remember bits and pieces. Like I said, I just go through it to make sure it's enough to make entertaining for you guys. And I could have done better today, but guarantee you that's where he goes with this.
After you've gone through that,
Lay down.
I imagine there's quite a lot of people in America who've gone through the same process who are not happy about it.
Yeah, but there's probably a lot of other people on the other side too who are trans.
Are they though?
And could never get medical treatment, or was never taken seriously, or
why? Why would they not be able to get medical treatment? Your whole thing is that all you need to do, Morty, lay down. Your whole argument is the only thing somebody should need to do in order to get a treatment is say that they're trans. And we just saw at least one doctor who was talking about puberty blockers. You just pause it like you're listening to a song, and then it picks up at the next note. So why would they not get treatment? Because you said you're sure that the numbers on the other side are the same.
Or had horrible problems their whole lives and nobody saw them either, right?
I mean, I don't agree with that, but let's leave that.
Wait, hold on. How can you not agree with that? You don't think that there are...
Because it's stupid.
You're suggesting that in the current climate, there are people who are being denied transition?
Yeah, if you live in like Louisiana or Indiana or Mississippi, or if you're one of these states or whatever, you don't think some of these people will be born to families that don't believe in trans people, or in communities that don't think that trans people are real, that don't want to come out or don't even know about the idea of it? Yeah, of course.
Nope.
I'm not saying that.
This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous claim. Ridiculous. You could live in the deep south of Alabama, Louisiana, whatever. Pick the most racist, backwards, whatever place that you want. There's things called buses. There's things called Ubers. There's things called taxis. There's things called cars. There's things called planes. And I'm not sure. Maybe those people can't afford that stuff. But wait a minute. I'm sure the government is giving these hormones away for free. Oh, no. It's $70 million a pop. So they have money to transition, but they don't have money for transport. Start a GoFundMe. Share it on Twitter. I'm sure everybody who's ever been posted on Libs of TikTok is at least going to give you $2. That's $1 million right there.
And go to another state?
No. In the United States, we don't have buses like you guys do, okay? We have school buses.
Okay.
Actually, we do have buses. Did he really just say in the US we don't have buses like you guys do? Is he under the impression that you can't leave the state on a bus? Maybe I missed that. Maybe I must be stupid.
Even know about the idea of it?
There's no way.
I'm not saying bus and go to another state.
He said bus, right? Okay.
No. In the United States, we don't have buses like you.
In the United States, we don't have buses. In the United States, we don't have buses.
You guys do, okay? We have school buses.
Okay, can they not get on a plane? I mean,
I'm serious.
You know
No,
what I
you
mean.
can't. Hold on. Get on a plane? Come on. Can you just rent a flat in London?
No. First of all, absolutely you can get on a plane for a very cheap price, especially if you're just going to the next fucking state. And second of all, you just fucking lied! You just said the U.S. doesn't have buses except for school buses! So, Destiny, what I need you to do, or any Destiny fan who ever finds this, what I want you to do is go to greyhound.com. Gray, with an E. Greyhound.com.
No, of course, these things are expensive, right?
Oh, they're expensive, unlike hormone treatment and sexual reassignment surgery, right?
Well, I just want to be clear.
Well, you can't afford a $300 flight if you're going to get hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars of surgery.
It's not just about getting the surgery. You're jumping ahead to the most radical thing.
Are we, though? We're talking about again, motherfucker. He's trying to bring up Trump. He was bringing up Trump and then talking about how Trump isn't this, that, or the other. You brought up Trump, bro. We're talking about politics in 2022. You're the one talking about 2020. We're talking about people spending money to change their gender, which is a very expensive thing. So to act like people can gather the money to get either reassignment surgery or enough hormones to actually work, but not enough money to go to the place to get it, is nonsensical. That is not how money works. That is not how people work. That is not how motivations work. I'm sure there's people who want to do things like that. And I mean, you could flip it over to the other side too. All the states that had the trigger laws when it came to Roe v. Wade, you can still take a bus to another state. And that's cheaper than it's cheaper. So yes, maybe it's an additional cost, but in the grant, what are you fucking doing? Leave that alone, please. This motherfucker, holy shit. He just took, the guitar's blocking it. He just took an empty bag of treats out of the garbage. This motherfucker. And now he's going to be crackling all in the back. Which is back? I can't even.
It's not just about getting the surgery. You're jumping ahead to the most radical thing. A lot of trans people that are fully transitioned don't even get sex reassignment surgery. That's like the most extreme thing. But no, I don't think the average teenager in the United States who's 14, 15, 16 years old can afford a $300 plane ticket. I don't.
Okay, so you fucked up, bro. You fucked up. They can't afford a $300 plane ticket. How much does one round of puberty blockers cost? And yes. Approximately $1,200 per month for injections, and $45,000 to $18,000 But yeah, no, they can't afford a $300 bus ticket. Well, that would be for the plane. So we're talking about more about like 25, right? I don't know. Any film. I need some help here. How much do fucking bus tickets cost? I don't know. I don't know. Any film said I said it before. I'll say it again. Transitioning is cosplay. Change my mind. I don't think I can, my friend. I don't think I can because you are correct. I don't think there's... So you can't afford a $300 plane ticket. But you can afford, what is it? $12,000 a month. So what is the assumption there? The assumption is that the child is probably not paying $12,000 a month, considering we're talking about minors who can't work. So affording shit goes out the window because now we're talking about parents paying for shit. You see how this is all spiraling down a fucking bullshit. I don't even have an appropriate word to end that sentence. Bullshit is not even close to how ridiculous this is. And from middle of the country to top of the middle of the country, $25. But a child can't afford that. They can only afford $1,200 a month. But this is the leader of the centrist left that cares about Biden but doesn't want to go too woke and this is the guy.
I don't even know if you're allowed to fly as a minor without an adult.
You're not. I'm going to assume that some of you have flown as minors alone before, so let's just not address that because obviously you can fucking fly as a minor.
So you're not allowed to fly, but you're allowed to chuck your dick off. That seems quite extreme to me.
Here, I think, okay. I'm acknowledging,
I'll
make the acknowledgement that like there are clinics and there are people that have suffered ideological capture and have gone too far with some of the trans stuff. I agree with that.
Finally! But finally! He says it. He says it. That's all we wanted, bro. It's gone too far. It's gone too far. We all agree that people with gender dysphoria should have access to treatment for their gender dysphoria. Why did it take you an hour to admit that it's gone too far? I thought you spent all your time arguing the other side so you know exactly your position. That was how you started this out. Okay. Whatever you say, bro.
To say that like it's never happened on the other end, I don't think that's
That's not what anybody's saying. That's a perfect whataboutism.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not. I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm just saying I think we went too far towards one side rather than the other. And I will grant you, 50 years ago, yeah, I don't think trans people had a great life. I think we can all agree on that.
Why is that? Why is that at all controversial? Why is that at all controversial? Any film? Yeah. Treatment for gender dysphoria is a psychiatrist, not a scalpel. And maybe it is a scalpel. But can we fucking try to have a conversation first? Can we maybe think, hey, I'm depressed as a 15-year-old girl, and my best friend was also depressed because we're 15-year-old girls, but she went and did this binary whatever thing. I don't even know what it is. But everybody on Tumblr or TikTok these days, everybody on TikTok was like, and now she gets so much attention and she's so happy. And it only cost her $1,200 a month. So for those people, correct. A psychiatrist is the answer. And a psychiatrist may determine that a scalpel after the age of 18 is appropriate. Okay. Does anybody here have a problem with that? Oh, so this anti-trans whatever that Destiny's been putting forward for 54 minutes and 2 seconds is lies and mischaracterizations. Okay, just want to make sure. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good. We'll leave that there because I think we've both said basically what we both mean.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. So just staying with the trans.
So there's like 2 sections left, and then they take some super chats. I'm not going to bother with their super chats. We'll just finish their conversation, and then we'll head over to the panel. And there's not many people here, so I don't know what that's going to be like, but I'll be over there.
But a different part of it. What do you think about with gender ID, Destiny? Somebody identifying as a woman and then having access to women's spaces. Do you think that is? Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that?
I don't agree with the self-ID position at all. No.
Okay.
What? This is why we need to understand what he means by worlds apart, not the same thing. Because these opinions don't line up. That's good. I'm glad that you don't like this self-ID thing. But how does that fit into what we were talking about when somebody does deserve to get the medical treatment that they want and deserve? I guess we're just not going to talk about that, I guess. That's not important to this. That's irrelevant.
Interesting. Why?
It just doesn't. It's a totally incoherent position. If we believe that gender is real, which I think we used to, if trans people believe that gender is real, which a lot of them do, but some of the more extreme ones don't, then that has to be reducible to some real facet of your brain. And it can't just be that you are what you say you are. That doesn't make any sense. There has to be an underlying fact of the matter. You can't just identify as something and be something. So yeah, I don't think that you can just identify as whatever and then get access to whatever.
So what are we disagreeing about? What is the conversation? I agree with every word that he just said. It's the arbitrary line that needs to be drawn that we will disagree upon. But conveniently dipping and dodging and diving and dipping and dodging around it.
Or there has to be some process to verify or validate whatever it is you're identifying as.
Okay, and do you think, for instance, trans women should have access to women's spaces? If they, if they've gone part of the way there, etc., etc., etc.
It depends on what they present as. I mean, like if they present as a woman and they look like a woman, and for all intents and purposes, it seems like it, then yeah, they probably should. Yeah.
I'm very This is a tough one. Let's just put it that way, because I feel like, and I think they bring up something semi-relevant to this, but there is a spectrum of people who are, men and women, and then you got the trans people in between and how well they pass. There's a certain point on both ends where it's more dangerous for the biological woman to go into the woman's bathroom, or theoretically, the biological woman to go into the men's bathroom, and vice versa. So this is one that I think should be, I don't remember what this should be a when you see it kind of thing. It's very clear to us. It has never been an issue with the butch lesbians and tomboys and feminine dudes and drag queens. It has never been an issue for us to determine what you seem like. And if you're androgynous, then those are really the only people who should get to choose. If you are legitimately androgynous and nobody can tell, then number one, you're already at risk just by being that person. So I don't know that the bathroom is any more or less dangerous. But if you are Blair White, it doesn't matter that you were born with a dick. It's not really safe for you to go and use the men's bathroom. Eventually, on a balance of probabilities, some dude is going to see a chick in the bathroom and be like, yeah, I don't know, there's no cameras in here. So I do think there is some wiggle room and there is some space for us to be like, okay, we don't have a perfect answer for this, but try to just go with what you pass as. And I think if the LGBT community was more willing to be like, okay, we're going to work with you. We're going to try. then I think people who are not in that community be like, okay, as long as you're trying, don't try to pull one over. Don't try to get special treatment out of this, which is exactly what they did. Everyone said, so if there's a test that showed there was a difference between a male's brain and a female's brain, what would effect would that have on this whole concept? Unfortunately, none, because that has already been done, and we are here. So unfortunately, none.
Okay,
Zero.
and what about when it comes to things like women's refuges, women's prisons, where there are vulnerable
Good
women?
question.
Do you think that should
Good
be
question.
a space for biological women only?
Yes.
Almost certainly not, but those get more
Almost certainly not. How does that fit in what you just said, bro?
complicated.
Why do you say almost certainly not?
Like you're on a, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Almost certainly not. You're on a podcast. You've been doing this for 15 years. You know that almost certainly not. It's not a sufficient answer. So why are you just probably not. Like if I ever become like this on any other platform, fucking roast the shit out of me. Because this is a motherfucker who is too comfortable with what he has. He knows that he's a platform. He knows that he could just sit there, play his game, spout his lines. He's smart enough to kind of, exist in that middle ground where dumb people are going to follow him anyway. And so it's hard to even hate on that. It's hard to even hate on it. But it's certainly not respectable in any sense of the word.
Because nobody agrees with that position. That's insane.
Well, there are people who certainly agree with that position.
That's only because they haven't thought about it much.
Cope. The only reason you would think something different than me is because you're not smart enough or you didn't think about it enough. That's not an argument.
No, I would disagree with that.
Hold on, I'm curious. Do either of you have daughters?
No.
No.
Okay. If you had do you know who
Okay.
Buck Angel is?
Yes, we've had him on the show.
We've interviewed.
Okay, so in case anybody doesn't know, I don't feel like taking the time to ask. Why can I not just get Buck Angel? This is a trans woman. Let's do that. This is a trans woman. This person, this porn star, was born as a woman. Just in case you didn't know.
Would you want your daughter sharing a jail cell or a shower or a bathroom with Buck Angel? Because that's a biological female. Okay, so that's a biological female. So when people say like only biological female, like I don't know what people mean by that. That sounds insane to me. I think that there are people that have transitioned far enough where it's obvious they should be housed differently.
That's where I am. Finally, we agree on something. Finally, we agree on something. That this is not easy. There is not a straight, direct, correct answer, and we have to take it case by case basis. Shit. It's hard for me to say because I am far more vulnerable than any woman just by virtue of being a small man. By being a man, I am way more likely to be attacked in any situation than any woman. And because of my stature, I am way less likely to be able to defend myself. Yeah. So I'm not really concerned about being in a bathroom with Buck Angel, but that's because I'm already a man. But I don't know if that's right. I'm whatever. Anyway, the left is horrible with logic. Say that again. Just say whatever. None of it makes sense. None of it is cohesive, and you will never get called out for it. Yeah, because they just want to be right, and they will stick together. And he says Buck Angel is against the transitioning of children. I wonder why. Maybe, because he's not a fucking groomer.
Now, if you're like a huge burly guy and you've got a huge beard and huge muscles, and you're like, well, I'm a woman and I identify, then no, fuck you. Either go.
It's ma'am. I would love to see where he came out on it's ma'am, because he seems to be arguing the opposite now. But he talked about before about how he got in trouble, so I don't know.
Somewhere else to figure something else about it. But for people that are like clearly passing, right? Like, I don't think I would want to be in some space with my son if we go to like a sauna or some shit. I don't know if people do that. And all of a sudden somebody steps in and they got these huge.
Why would you use that example?
Huge knockers, these massive, 34 double, triple Ds. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing in here? That's a little bit strange. You're like, oh, well, I'm a biological male, even though I've got like, I'm fully passing and fully, like, that's just weird to me. I think it
Okay. So there's two situations that are weird. One that's more weird for you for one reason, and one that's more weird for other people for other reasons. But I guess he says both are not okay. But what is it? Again, I don't understand. No, I guess he's sitting with me and saying, like, it's case by case, whatever. If you're a trans person, then it makes a lot of sense to me that you should want to be as low-key, at least relevant to bathrooms, as possible. Because if you're trying to make a whole thing about it, like at that spa, you're not, this isn't really about you becoming another gender and fitting in and being that person. It's about you getting special treatment for being different. And again, it's hard to blame those people because of the societal conditions that they're living in. Like, you could, if you're a man, you're nothing. You're nothing. All you do is put on some makeup and a dress, and now you're a hero. You're a hero. Literally, in the eyes, is just like that. So it's hard to blame these people. I mean, they're weak unless they genuinely have gender dysphoria. But I mean, there's worse things that can be done than adults doing things to their own bodies.
It's going to depend a lot on if the person is passing or not.
That makes sense.
I agree.
I
agree.
I agree with you. So, and let's go to another issue that I think you and I probably will agree on, hopefully, which is the war in Ukraine. Because I
do you guys
find
care
it
about this?
absolutely mind-boggling how both a section of the left and right have come up with all sorts of crazy conspiracy.
I'm going to skip this part. We're going to why doesn't he support Biden, and then I think there's I just do not care at all. And there's a small piece about we've got about where is this? We got about 3 content minutes left. So stick with me, and then we're going to the panel. I'm not staying up too late, but
No, it's fine. So you're a big fan of Biden, then, Destiny?
Yeah, I am.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Okay, and look, I know a lot of people on the left, on the Democratic left, who really dislike Biden.
He means his girlfriend, by the way.
There's people, on the right who obviously dislike Biden. There's people who say, that this is a man who is very elderly, he's in cognitive decline, that he shouldn't be in charge of the most powerful nation in the world. So explain to us, why is it that you lot are a Biden supporter?
I think Biden has done a really good job at quelling the radical aspects of the left in the party. He was really big on condemning the violence during the BLM riots, which I thought was really good. He hasn't acquiesced or given in to any of the weird socialist commie shit on the left, which I think
that's a good point. That is a good point. While he certainly hasn't done anything to stop it, he hasn't really done much of anything at all except fuck up Afghanistan. I will say that I definitely thought this woke leftism shit would exponentially get worse. Because let's not forget that it was ramping up hard under Trump. Now, that was a direct response to Trump. So take that into account. But I will agree there.
I think it's really good. He's done a fairly admirable job, or actually a more than admirable job of working with Republican lawmakers to pass like major legislation. Which I
don't even know if I call that a good thing.
Good. He's repeatedly said that he's trying to be the president of both the left and the right. When he's calling out people on the right, he's trying to.
So remember, do I still have it up? Remember the last poll. Scroll up. No, never mind. So remember, who's here? Yo, whoever's on Twitch, let me know. Let me know who you're here because it's me, you, and IndieFilm. So I just take something. So before I put up a poll asking, are MAGA people and the GOP base the same people? Are MAGA people and the GOP base the same people?
To specify that it's like just the these MAGA people, and not necessarily all Republicans. Yeah, I just think I think he's been like legislatively effective. I think his foreign policy has been pretty good. I think he's just done all around like way better than I expected him to, and I hope he continues to do decently. Yeah.
Right, but don't you think that's fairly antagonistic about the MAGA? Like, surely if you want somebody to change their mind, if you want people to come over to your side, to your way of thinking, or not even that, or adopt a more mainstream position by antagonizing those people, is that really the right move?
I mean, any leader has to be able to call out like problematic aspects of his team. I mean, there is a huge issue with people in the United States that still deny the results of the last election. So, I mean, you have to be able
I think Francis' point is attacking them going to convince them otherwise.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to convince him otherwise, but he has to say something about it. He can't just remain silent on the issue while you've got this growing wing in your country that is denying the results of the election.
But wouldn't a more conciliatory tone, wouldn't a tone that actually tries to get through to someone and be more, like I said, more conciliatory, wouldn't that be a more effective tool?
There's nothing to be conciliatory about, though. These people are saying that the election was stolen, that Biden is a false president, that Biden is being controlled and he's senile, that all the vaccine stuff is rigged and untrue. Like, there's nothing to concede to these people. I don't think you can concede anything.
Exactly. I don't think you can concede anything. I don't think you concede anything. Biden's just perfect. Anyone who's a big fan of Biden, that should tell you everything you need to know. This is all wrong. He has demonized the right many times. And foreign policy? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a separate thing that they talk about, right? Yeah, they're going into that right after this. So that's the last segment that we're going to do. And then we are headed over to Discord. So whoever's on Twitch, I don't have a description to link in, but I will drop the link to the Discord, excuse me, in the chat right at this moment in 5, 4, 3, 2. If you are on Twitch, you have been very quiet, but that is okay. I very much appreciate you spending time here. Me, IndieFilm, and I'm thinking Trey, and probably a couple of other people that were here are going to head over to that Discord server as soon as it is over. We are going to finish this conversation. We've got about 10, not 10. About 5 content minutes, which is probably about 15 minutes here. And we're heading over there. So meet us over there.
They're insane. The MAGA aspect of the Republican Party is actually fucking crazy. And the Republican...
Well, fuck that jab. So I don't really want to give anybody credit for that. We didn't need it. Didn't work. Didn't do what it was supposed to do. Did what it wasn't supposed to do. And anecdotally, I know it's anecdotal, but I've heard this anecdotally from a number of different people. I don't know anybody. I do not know one person who has been unjabbed who has also gotten Rona. I also don't know anybody who has gotten jabbed and hasn't gotten Rona multiple times. It's anecdotal. It is not scientific. But it is what it is.
Kids are starting to realize it now as they're starting to all break down against each other.
Okay. I'm curious about the senile point because I've not followed Joe Biden's presidency that closely. I actually agree with you on aspects of his foreign policy. And I think you're right that, I mean, he didn't go as far to the extreme left as someone else might have done because I think he's a sort of center-left guy. But do you not cringe when you see a clip of him struggling to get a sentence out?
It's a little bit cringy, nowhere near as cringy as Trump's daily petulant child tweets were, though.
And there we go. You want to talk about worlds apart? There's worlds apart from a cringe egomaniac who's trying to make jokes and is bad at it. and a senile old man who physically can't make a sentence with his mouth whole. Remember, I was so against so much of what Trump was doing for so long. And then I was like, oh, this motherfucker's just like fucking around. I fuck around all the time. Oh, I get it now. I get it now. You know how the left is like, well, some people, they don't understand the, discussions that happen at a higher level in academia. And, when we discuss these issues at a higher level, then we're able to break them down and understand the atrocities that happen. Get the fuck out of my face.
But I mean,
those are pretty fucking cringe. I agree. Also, sometimes entertaining. But again, you've gone to like, what about? I think our point.
No, yeah, I mean, like Biden definitely is slowing down in his older years. Yeah, of course, for sure he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, like, I like to vote on 2 people in my federal election, and I would take Biden.
I agree. I agree. I think
so.
Francis' earlier question was much more apt, which is like, are these 2 people the best representatives of America? I really hope not. Is I guess how I feel about it.
And what about the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Do you not think that was major? That majorly tarnished his reputation. The fact it was so badly handled.
No, like we got out, so it was perfect.
All I'll say is I'll give him credit for actually pulling out. I mean, Trump had drawn our troops down to like I think 4-digit levels there. I mean, it sucked that. I mean, obviously, the images of like people being airlifted off of embassies after Biden said that wouldn't happen was pretty shitty. But we got out as well as we could have.
As well as we could have. Even if you had just said, well, anything like that is going to get fucked up. We don't know how Trump would have done it. And it was definitely fucked up. And that's not a thing. But at least we got out. Full stop. I would be 100% like, all right. I mean, that's a decent way to look at it. We got out as well as we could have. As well as we could have.
I mean, yeah. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Not leave in the middle of the night before telling Kabul and leaving hundreds of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment there for the Taliban to just take over.
All right, let's do some super chats if you're up for it, and we'll.
Now, fuck the super chats. I can't deal with this shit. I am losing my fucking hair here. So I need you guys to come through in Discord and make sure that I haven't gone insane, because I'm not positively sure that I have not gone insane just from watching the last 1 hour and I can't see it. 1 hour and 2 minutes and 44 seconds of this ridiculous conversation. But I hope it showed you. $80 billion. And I can't even get a fucking Cash App. But like, yeah, that went as well as it could. Anything, obviously, it's just pathetic. It's just pathetic that this is. I mean, how many views did this get? Not to play like, but 22,000 people watch this. 22,000 people decided that this conversation was worth their time. It wasn't a complete waste of time, especially if you follow either of these platforms on a regular basis. It's definitely good to see the range of what people can do, because I have a lot of respect for Destiny overall. When we do these shows, I try to focus on the conversation that we're having, because it's just that's what I want to do. I don't fuck you. I don't need to give a reason. But I don't want to use everything that I've ever seen about Destiny to judge this conversation. I want to judge this conversation based on this conversation. And this conversation was hard to watch. It was a lot easier when I was doing shit on my phone and I was playing this at 2 times speed in the background. And I appreciate all three of these gentlemen, these two, for giving me content to react to, Destiny for giving me a gold mine to react to. I feel like I was able to be more entertaining because they weren't. But at the same time, it's just like, Jesus Christ, what is happening? If these are the thought leaders in our country, that needs to be me. It needs to be me. It needs to be me. Unless you want to come and show me why it doesn't, then I'm going to be convinced that I am the only one who can fix this country. We're starting here with 3 people watching, but that's how Destiny started. That's how Tim Pool started. That's how Tucker Carlson started. So get comfortable. We here. We doing this. And I'm fired up. So the panel is going to be fun. So if you haven't already, if you're the lone person on Twitch, thank you so much for hanging out. I dropped the link to the Discord in the description, or lay it down. And for the rest of you, it is in the Discord, the description of the video. This motherfucker won't lay down. Lay down. I'm trying to give him food. Just lay down. That's all I'm asking. But yes, as you can see, we have a $100 contest going on. All you have to do is join for free and be part of the conversations. Come to the panel, play games when we're playing games, and you can win $100. Whoever has the most points based on the thing, you can read all the rules, get $100. And it is free. And it's not always going to be free. When we're bustling, and people are like, oh, please, where's the after party? Lunch, I just want to talk to you for 5 more minutes. They will. And they're not all going to be dudes either. They're going to have to pay, but you won't, because you will be grandfathered in. So make sure you hit that link in the description. That is where I am headed right after this. And I know you guys are with me already. So if I'll just quick reminders, if you haven't, please hit the like button. And you guys know my schedule every Monday, Wednesday, Friday here at 8 p.m. Eastern. But sometimes I come on whenever I feel like it. So hit the subscribe button. Change the notifications to, instead of just subscribe, you want to get all notifications. But, that shit sucks too. So I need you. I need your help. I need you to take the URL right here and just post it all over social media. It's kind of annoying that nobody did that, but that's okay. The fact that you guys spent time here watching this is more than I could ask for. And I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you'll join me in Discord. But even if this is all you want to offer is your attention, that is something that really means a lot to me. And I think just by sitting here and letting me into your eyeballs and into your earballs, we are going to fix this country. We are going to fix this country. We are going to fix this country. Well, maybe not you. I'm going to fix this country. If you want help, I'm with it. But I'm going to fix this country. So I hope you enjoyed this party, because I had a good ass time. And it's not over. Like we said, party rage is on in Discord. We're going there right now. So with that, thank you for hanging out. I am your host, Lutch, aka TheIndianJesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until the next party, or in 30 seconds when you see me in Discord, I am out of here. Oh, I used the wrong hand. I can't do it. I am out of here. Peace.